Turn up my treble.
That
Turn
must
up
be
my
that
bass.
one song. What is it? Money don't jiggle jiggle.
Oh no!
No.
Oh my God. That's like on every reel on Instagram.
I
Even
refuse
in
it.
reels that don't even like it doesn't make sense that song's over it.
I don't
I'm
even
like,
know what
yes.
a reel is. Like, is a reel just a video short on some certain platform?
Yeah, it's
Instagram, right?
Yeah, it's a TikTok, right? TikTok started it with the
Okay.
quick videos or Vine or whatever started it, and then
Yeah.
now it's on Instagram.
Okay. We're about ready to go here. I need that microphone closer to you, love.
Like this.
Yes.
Up
Or
and
you can
like
move, you can move aside, whatever it's comfortable for
Yeah.
you. You don't have to go like this. You can, whatever's comfortable. You're good. So I say my bet is the over. No, my bet's the under. We go 3 minutes before Amy grabs the mic.
I know
You
you.
taking the over or the under? I'm taking the under.
Yeah. I would too.
You know
I
what?
would do that.
I
as
trust
well.
me. I'll take the over.
She's taking the over. She's taking the over.
'Cause hopefully for 3
And now
minutes
she's
she
gonna
focused.
And now she's going to give me the middle finger. This is fantastic.
No, do you know why I did this though? It was actually for him because he's telling me to shh.
Oh.
Don't tell me what to do, sir. I don't even know you.
Yeah, so, oh my God, that's great. So the story of this statue was I had to have it the moment I saw it, but I really didn't understand why.
Right.
And I didn't even know what it meant. And then someone said, you know what that means? I said, no. And he goes, it means see no evil, because the eyes are carved out, speak no evil, and hear no evil.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. That was a whole year later after having the damn thing on my desk.
Oh, I love it.
So, yeah. So let's just get right into this,
Okay.
after Amy's done playing with her little wooden
Hand.
hand there. Everybody has hand,
Feel good
by the
with
way, in
that.
case you're feeling, if you're
Handy.
feeling handy or you're feeling frustrated at all, or you want to make a gesture to your host. I mean, you have the ability to do it now without personally doing it.
This is respect. This means respect.
Hey, it does? What is that?
Fist.
Oh,
Or this way.
it looks like arthritis to me.
I know.
but-
Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that better?
That's okay. All right, so let's just get right into it, because I have some questions that I would love to get your thoughts on. So in the past couple weeks, we kind of run in themes on these podcasts. Even for my one-on-one shows that I bring a guest in, sometimes they go off the in the social cues and things and social issues. I'd like to get your thoughts on where the concept of shame is today in the year 2022. Like personal shame. Like, do we think about that anymore? Is it a thing? Is it now just lumped into like everybody just do their own thing, or you only live once kind of mentality? Where is the context, or where is the weight of the concept of shame today, if it even exists? The reason I say it, so again, I'm coming at it from a different standpoint because of my age. I'm looking back in history and trying to determine, as we talked a little bit before the show, like where were moments that our morals, for whatever morals mean, but that right and wrong civility thing, where did that get really punched in the face and tested? And then we kind of adapted to it. And I can only go back the past 20, 25 years. I mean, if I was even older, I probably could go back to things that happened in the 60s and the 70s and in the 80s. I could, but I remember Clinton, when he had his thing and it was exposed, and then the lie about it, and then, what that caused the American public to have to react to, parents and so forth. That might have been a little bit of a punch toward traditional morals. And then I go all the way to like the Kardashians during the beginning of the social media era, and then the mother selling the sex tape unabashedly and just capitalizing on that. And then, to their credit, because they built a hell of an empire, they're, business-wise, I'm not knocking any of it. I'm just looking at points in time where the morals might have been punched in the face, and we just kind of just adapted to what this new normal was. Because it seems like today that people will do just about anything for a look at me moment, especially if they think there's a monetary component that could be attached to it. Now, am I all wet? This is an old guy just bitching, or is this really kind of, is there any validity to it?
There's validity in your perspective because of just how you've evolved. Does that make sense? We all have
Evolved. I've evolved. There you go.
Right?
I hope.
Well, no, like, isn't that a good way to put it? Evolution, right? Because we don't know what the hell we're doing until we're doing it.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to do our best.
You don't think that there was like I mean, you're not in your 20s, so you've been around a while. You have a longer frame of reference, right?
Right.
You don't think that as time has gone on, people are more okay with outlandish stuff, whether it's on a sexual nature, whether it's on a violent nature, whether it's maybe on being maybe disrespectful to other humans. We're kind of okay with that if there's a fame component to it.
Shame is so funny. I think we all actually are faced with shame at some point in our lives. I know I have, for like the way that I looked or whatever it was. We all make mistakes. So we all feel shame at some point. I think that with social media and us being available through that platform, whenever, all the time, it opens us up to feel that way. Right? Whatever we do, it's up for scrutiny, no?
Yeah. So I was thinking, actually, on the drive across the state today, I was thinking about social media.
That long drive.
And anymore, there are 4 types of posts on social media, I think. I think there's the braggadocious post or the look at me post, right? There's the complaining post. There's the humor post. Or there's somebody selling something. And if you go through your feed on any social media, almost every post falls into one of those buckets. And then there's every now and then you'll get like a helpful post, like, baby formula shortage. Like, hey, there's some baby formula at this location. But that still can sometimes fall into a sales or a braggadocious thing. And I think the shame has gone away with social media because, 1, people can make money, and 2, people brag about stuff, right? Like, I'm super fit. I'm going to post shirtless pics all the time. No shame. Now, back in the 80s, would you have walked around and handed Polaroids of your half-naked self to people? Probably not. But
that's an interesting concept.
But the connectivity is so close there. And, again, because of the braggadocious nature of society on social media and because of the complaining nature of society, I think that shame goes out the window. And everybody now has a platform, right? Before, you'd only talk to your immediate neighbors or the people your family, you'd call them on the phone. Now, you can connect with thousands of people in an instant, millions of people in an instant. So I think
I don't use my social media like that, actually. I would love your perspective on how my social media looks to you.
Sure. So, I'm a parent, right?
Me too.
Most people that are parents post their kids in a positive nature, but it would still fall under braggadocious or complaining almost every time. Like you're proud and you're bragging about your kid, or you're complaining like, oh, so and so did this to my kid. Usually,
I don't really post my kid a lot.
Yeah, yours is motive. To me, the only thing I've ever seen on any of your, the only vibe I ever got from your stuff, is that your personal life is personal,
right?
Obviously, because it's not out there.
Right.
But everything you're doing is motivational to me. Like and what you gain and what you enjoy in your workouts is also comes off very motivational. That's how I have interpreted your feed. Maybe I'm wrong,
appreciate that.
But that's how that from day one. That's all I've ever seen from you.
And that's that final niche of helpful, right? There's like 5%.
100%.
I would say less than 5% of all posts
that's
would
not,
be like
but
that.
I'm not selling anything, and I'm not selling myself as a brand or anything like that. I'm just kind of like, this is kind of like what I did today, kind of thing. If that makes sense.
So instead of braggadocious, would you categorize that? And I'm not saying that you are like this, but would it be attention seeking? Like, for example, on Mondays, I post a motivational Monday post just because people have asked me to since I've been in college.
Right.
Not that I'm selling anything, right?
Yeah.
But it's still, it grabs attention, right? And is there something inside of me that inherently likes that?
I think it's an all of us, though.
Yeah.
I think positive affirmation is what we're all craving, although we won't want to talk about it. We all crave that, right?
Sure. So maybe braggadocious isn't the word. Maybe it's
like
that's going on too in many instances.
An outside validation kind of interesting. I don't actually seek outside validation.
Sure.
It's crazy. I don't do that, and it's so funny that you're saying the things that you are, and I'm the antithesis of everything that you're saying. Yet you could take mine as
it's all interpretation.
One of those buckets.
What you think it is, right? Yeah. One of those buckets, and I try not to fall into any. I am an Amy Wisniowski bucket.
Yeah.
I really am.
I think you're doing it right. I think your social media that I see, your Instagram, where I follow you, I think, and that's how we actually connected.
Yeah.
I think that is done in a motivational way. Whether it's every day, it's intentional to be. It forms a motivational.
Yeah, right. Okay,
it forms a motivational message.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, it could do that. Yes.
Yeah, because I would think if it was forming something else, we probably wouldn't be sitting here.
Right.
You know what I mean? My interest was like, look at all of this work. in the way it's presented.
Right, so
I
it's
want to
based
find out
off
about
of-
this person who doesn't reveal any of your personal life.
Sure.
Right.
You know?
So it's based off of, like, we were talking about morals, and I think we hit on this the last time I
Yeah.
was here.
Yep.
Like your own core values as an individual person. It should allow you to lead yourself in a particular manner to achieve goals, right? This is how I live my life.
Sure.
And this is like some of the things I think that you can pick up on in the way that I lead my life. But like I have pictures of myself with I'm in a bra.
Sure.
Well,
Well,
it's workout clothing.
Is it? No, not really. It was underwear.
No?
It was
Okay.
boy shorts. It was boy
Okay.
shorts. And then like a Lululemon bra. Like a high neck Lululemon bra. Right?
It's all interpretation.
It's all interpretation, but
Yeah.
like nothing was hanging out.
so
What are you thinking over there, friend?
I know.
I guess I can see the wheels turning over there.
The wheels are turning.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess. Well, I started thinking of when you touched on the shame. Like being younger, just worrying about what everyone thinks of you has been a big thing that going back to your values that I've tried to work on myself just as I've gotten older. I feel like it's changed and it's shifted throughout, like, you know, high school to college to work life.
Good. Good.
But you've only known social media in your life, right? I mean, it's been around for most of your life, right?
Yeah, I mean, since I was probably 12, 13.
Wow.
I mean, Facebook. Well, no, MySpace. Go back to MySpace.
I know MySpace. How about like do you remember Instant
Do we
Messenger?
have to remember
AOL.
what-
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
You've got
AIM.
mail.
That's the first one.
Yeah. Well, that was your social media back then.
Yeah.
And the evolution of that and how it's connected people is so different. You have access to anybody.
yeah.
Anybody. You have access to, well,
Yeah.
for the most part, unless
Right.
they're a locked account or whatever.
Yeah.
You're up for grabs now. And you have probably felt that for the longest time.
Percentage
And
of her life.
youngest, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Youngest.
When I think back on not even having a cell phone, I think I got my first cell phone when I was 10.
What?
Wow.
So, I mean, I can
I love
obviously
that.
remember like what it was like before. Like, I remember having my Game Boy or, you know, playing like PlayStation 1 or 2 or having to go outside and ride my bike around the neighborhood for all hours of the day. But yeah, for the most part, it was mainly I grew up. I was that last generation to really grow up, and like now, all these kids growing up now, they don't know what that. They don't remember that, you know.
Yes.
Play outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I forced my son early on to do soccer or just try it. Just try soccer, baseball, anything that would stick. And luckily for us, baseball stuck, but it got him outside.
Sure.
I could not imagine having raised my child if they were addicted to video games. Like, and then never leaving the house.
Yeah. Well, it's a way to connect. It's so crazy because then you end up in these like groups based off of like your own personal interest. You know, so it's a wonderful tool. That's what social media should be. It should be a tool for you to use however you want to use it. You know, this is America. This is freedom. This is like us speaking, right? I think that we cannot control you know, anything else, right? We can only control ourselves and how we lead ourselves. That's it. So like your choices have nothing to do with me.
Yeah, I guess the thing that puzzles me is, again, it's probably because I have a longer frame of reference. And we just had a conversation the other day about how wonderful life was in certain ways before the web, the pre-95 era, I call it, right?
Sure.
Where people would get in rooms and they talk to each other. They go to coffee shops or coffee houses or even to a dinner. The dinners were long and no one was staring at a device. Everybody was looking across the table. And if you had something to tell somebody, there was an anticipation. I can't wait to see them because I got to tell them this thing. Now everything is just so immediate. Like you get some whim on your mind. Oh, I'm going to tell it right now. Meanwhile, does it have to be told right then? Is that improving society by that instantaneous thing?
I think it's kind of cool because sometimes I'll get messages from, like, I got a message from an old boss of mine out of nowhere.
Right.
And he was like, I was just thinking of you.
I can see how that's a positive. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, my heart is full. I think I'm going to cry. Like, I love when that happens. It's one of my favorite things in the entire world is that I'm at the people who know me and like follow me or whatever, have my phone number. I'm at their disposal all the time, which can be good and bad, right? But things like that where it's like, I was just randomly thinking of you. I love to be able to receive that message.
Have you seen the opposite though, in anything creepy? Like
yes,
yeah. So that's the opposite, right? Like Eric was saying, like in '95.
But guess what I do?
Yeah, you just delete it.
You delete it.
Yeah,
I don't have to look at that.
Right,
I don't have to put up with that.
Yeah, right.
You know. Yes, it was like right there, but I have the power of choice and I choose to get rid of that.
And not enough humans do that though.
Yeah, they
get it.
Fight.
Like they bring the drama in.
They want to fight.
Well, it's funny to me too. Like this is one of the things that and I'm sure it goes both ways, male and female, but I can only tell you from the male perspective. You'd have conversations with women over time, and they talk about this guy I have a stalker, and he keeps texting me, and he sends me the most rude things. And if you drill down a little further, they're responding to them with their disgust instead of just basically blocking them, not even responding them, just blocking them and moving on. They're actually responding. So inside, they're basically craving the drama, and they're interested to whatever degree because they've responded. I think that's just not a male-female thing. I think that we do that in life now, where we're bringing excess drama into our life by whether the curious brains we have or the fact that we're just so used to responding to everybody all the time, right? You shaking your head over there?
I don't know. I think that just something that was mentioned earlier. I mean, I think, first of all, whenever I'm with people and being 27 and having grown up in that generation, I don't like being in a room of people where they're just staring at their phones the whole time.
You just think that's everywhere now, though?
No.
I hope not.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
If you go out to eat anywhere and you look at the tables,
sometimes
90% of the tables have people just staring. I would say actually closer to 100%. You go to any big restaurant, you'll just see kids on devices, parents on their phones, people that have not seen each other in a long time still on their phones.
Yeah.
And it may be a part of a conversation like, oh, what happened in 1972, you're talking about, and because you have the internet, there's no bickering back and forth over a fact anymore, right? It's like, guess what? I'm not going to bicker with you about this. I'm going to find it and either prove you right or
but
prove me right.
were we really bickering before the web? Like, I mean, I never went out to a restaurant and had an argument.
No,
over a date
not bickering, but like
or over an event.
You're talking about something, and somebody doesn't know the answer. Now, you can find the answer.
Yeah, and I get that. But
information is so different now.
Like, what do you mean?
It's so different. Like, look at celebrities. Look at sports. It's hilarious to me that people in sports are celebrities for shooting a ball or...
Well, they have been for decades,
shooting
a
ball.
Oh, a very long time.
It's hilarious to me.
But it's uber high now. I mean, because the social media, they're creating it's their money, but they're also creating more celebrity with their social media.
Right.
I think.
But it's also, again, it goes back to those buckets, right? Like if a celebrity makes a post, it's almost always one of those buckets, right? It's almost always a sales post at this point.
But it's not really the celebrity; it's their brand.
Right. But if I follow The Rock on Instagram.
Yeah, we all do.
I'm sure you all do, right?
Somebody does.
I definitely do.
95% of his posts are selling something, and he's so, I don't want to say coy and sly about it, but every post he mentions his tequila, his clothing company, his chef who has her own company. Like there's very few of, he'll post like his family life, like you're saying. But almost everything else
but he's a brand.
Yeah, I get that.
But he's so likable.
But he's also likable. But it's a movie. It's a clothing company. It's
That's
a
what
tequila.
He's into.
Yeah.
And
it's his energy drink, right? But every post is like that, and people probably don't realize that. And then suddenly they're going out buying
the way
stuff.
it's done.
Right.
Yeah.
And celebrities are like that too, right? Like
So let me ask you this.
Then that shame goes out the window because you're making money.
We'll come back to
what's shameful about The Rock and some of his messages are like fantastic.
Oh, I'm not saying they're not fantastic, but you're
We're
essentially
consumers.
selling something
we're
all
a shameless
the time.
plug. I think that's a phrase. It's a shameless plug.
Well, and
consumers.
there's levels of shame though, right? Like
for sure,
sending naked photos to everybody or selling something consistently.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Right.
100%. And what I'm saying though is what I've noticed over the past 20 some years is there's more. sending naked photos is not really a thing anymore. It once was unthinkable.
Right.
I mean, it would be like before the web. Was I going to put a bunch of naked pictures of myself in an envelope and put a stamp on it and mail it to somebody? I mean, like I think, I could be wrong, but I think because what I just described is a process that you have to contemplate and actually do, as opposed to go like this, click, click.
Correct.
When you slow things down and you start to reflect, and we talked about this on our podcast, when you give the human a little more time to think about what they're actually wanting to do, they often don't do it.
Right.
You know, it's amazing to me, like, we make all these instant decisions all the time, all day long, left or right or left, up, down, this, that, spend this, don't spend this. It's like, I don't know if the brain is equipped to make those decisions so quickly on. And a lot of those decisions, and another thing is, some of the decisions we're making are not qualified. Like some big decisions sometimes are mixed in with a bunch of remedial decisions and gets lost and causes problems because we're just making too many all day long. I love capitalism. I love what we have in this country, but we go to the grocery store, and this has been this way for decades. You go to the grocery store, there's 35 different kinds of bread. It's wonderful. You have choice. I get it. But we have so much with everything that there's a process now, but we don't use it because we just go
instantaneous.
I think that also has to do with our culture. I mean, I'm sure it's like that, you know, everywhere on the planet, but especially with American society, it's so fast paced. Like when you go over to Europe, it's just a lot more lax and just low key. I just feel like here in America, they're just like go and keep going and just work till you can't, work anymore. And it's just
priorities are different.
So,
would you say?
Well, yeah, but then also with that, it's like when I go to the grocery store, I have 30 brands of bread to choose from, but I'm gonna just go with this and then this and then this, and just because I have to like get through here and get through it, and it's just like almost overwhelming.
Have you gone down to cereal aisle ever?
Yes.
Oh my god.
100%. Yes.
Don't do it when you're hungry.
Too late.
You have 30 boxes of cereal in your in your. I mean, the broader question I think is, the thing that I struggle with as a guy in his mid-50s is that the internet over the last 25 years has brought so much to me so quickly, whether it's news, whether it's just things. There's so much that enters my world that really doesn't really have an impact on me.
Right.
But I ingest it anyways.
You need a stronger filter now than you did previously.
Oh, yeah.
For decisions, for information.
Most Americans don't have that.
My wife will tell me about shows she's watching or, whatever she's doing. And I'm like, why are you watching? Like the drama shows you're saying, like the junk internet stuff. And I'm like, I don't have the filter capacity for that. Right? I would rather be doing something else. So I understand exactly what you're saying. And then to circle back to the shame, you also have to filter a lot of that out of your life. I'm in the corporate world, right? Mm-hmm. I can't have a post of me ever leaking. I'll lose my job, lose my career, lose my path. Right. And so I think, again, you have to continue to have that filter and that bandwidth through the inhibitions, right? Through drinking too many beers, right? Like you're saying, nowadays, if you drink too many beverages, you can snap a picture, send it to somebody that you're interested in. Do you know what they're going to do with it? No, right? Mm-hmm. Before, you'd have to mail it in an envelope, and it would take you, the next day, you wake up and you're like, I'm going to get that out of my mailbox before the mailman comes and gets that, right? Yeah. So I think your filter has to be very big now compared to, you're saying 25 years ago.
Do you think we're doing that? Do you think, we all have the capacity to do anything, but are we choosing to use more discretion? I don't think we're doing it.
It just depends on the individual, I think. Yeah. I think that I continue to live by like my own core values every single day. Mm-hmm. It's not going to, it's for like a greater good, I feel, right? My message is not negative. It's very light. It's like, you can do it kind of thing.
Right, for sure. And that comes across in your social media.
Right. So like my purpose of my message is like I think it's like a better choice because I'm choosing to do that deliberately. I believe in that. So like, you're talking about we were talking about religion a little bit, and I'm not touching on religion, but there are morals that come from religions.
Sure.
Right? Like we've all experienced that, I think, right?
Although I think the moral, would you say the morals attached to modern day civility actually comes from religious texts, which is basically talking about be good, don't kill each other, don't steal from each other. I mean, the Ten Commandments, I know we tend to want to pull them off of, public buildings, and that's a whole other discussion, but the tenets of what's in there, roughly speaking, provides for an orderly society.
Right.
I mean, right?
Well, any religion, karma, right? You talk about karma or any energy system, right? It's a give and take, right? You send negative out there, you're going to get negative back. Whether it's Catholicism, whether it's a Methodist, whether it's Hindu, like it's all the same basic principles.
Right.
Be a jerk and bad things are going to happen to you, whether it's hell or whether it's, negative things in your life. But
sometimes it just takes so long for that to happen.
Yeah. But that's the system, right?
That's the problem with karma. Is like, I know it's karma, I know, but now I gotta wait so long. They get away with it for so long. When's it gonna happen?
In some cases, yes.
It never happens, right? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
But like that again, like you can only control yourself and your emotions. I think there's like levels of intelligence here, right?
Agreed.
And just awareness and like what we are able to come up with ourselves. Does that make sense? Like we're gonna hurt people, but maybe not intentionally, if that makes sense. Like your choice could hurt somebody. It doesn't mean it had anything to do with them, kind of thing. Does that mean I'm like not moral because I hurt somebody because of my own choice? No, but to your perspective, it would be. Yeah,
the one thing that the age has brought me, and I don't know when this epiphany hit me, but a while back I realized that, wow, everybody's perception of the experience is absolutely different. But I've maneuvered, at that point in my life, I had maneuvered a lot of my life with the assumption that as I'm seeing things is exactly how everybody else is seeing them. And why don't they feel as egregious as I did? Or why don't they feel happy about this? It's such a great event. But when you step back and you really get it, that everybody, even right now, you're looking at me, and you're here and you're doing this, your perception of everything that's going on, from that noise in the air conditioning, the lights, whatever, it's different. There's some similarities, but there's, I wouldn't understand your viewpoint sitting over there or yours. And as soon as you really get that, and like I said, I didn't get it till probably my early 50s, but I figured it out. Then it changed the way I started to maneuver in my relationships with other people. Call it extra humility, call it a moment of taking another breath before I speak, sometimes, whatever. But like, wow, this is what I'm seeing or feeling now might not be what they're seeing or feeling.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, and like language is super important too, because you were talking about like what does shame even mean? That has to be clear by everybody. Like you could say, oh, it means this to me, and that means that to you, and then it means this to me. We're basically saying the same thing, but it's all different.
It is different.
Yeah, so you have to understand that like this idea of shame is different for all of us. We can collectively agree it means something. It's usually negative.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
We would all agree, yeah?
Yeah.
Negative?
It seems to be a negative word.
Yeah, but like it's all different depending on like how we grew up or like what our own choices is, what our MO in life is. We don't know that.
Yes.
So, do you think that shame, like how you said it's negative, like let's say you feel shame for one thing and then I feel shame for another, it's still what we're feeling, is it the same?
We feel like it's this it has to do with negativity, right? Because it makes us feel sad or angry, animosity, all these things. It all means the same thing, right?
Yeah.
It's all within like a negative emotion, but it's experienced differently, It
is experienced
It's our reaction to the thing. Yeah, and your reaction would be different. Sometimes like when I'm frustrated, for example, I get really angry. Like, some people cry.
Right.
My significant other is the crier type. I am the anger type, and it doesn't work well when you get frustrated, because then you're like you said,
crying.
I think this is easy. I don't understand. Why don't you get this? And then, or she feels the same way, right? And then you get the shame afterwards. You're like, man, I shouldn't have said that, or wow, I can now see her point of view, or you can see his point of view, like, oh my gosh, that's so, now I can kind of see why it wasn't as easy for you.
It's tough in the moment,
yeah,
right?
very tough in the moment. But then you feel the shame afterwards, right? Because I can remember twice in my life where I made inappropriate comments to people, and I still think about these 2 times. That they were in public setting. You're trying to make a joke, you're trying to be funny, and then like the group turns on you because nobody saw it the same way you meant it, and then you're like, oh crap, that was not how I meant that. And then you replay it later and you're like, yeah, I could see why that was taken that way, but I meant it this way. And people don't, like you said, people see things the way they want to see things, right? Or hear things the way they want to hear things.
You have no control over someone else's response emotionally because it is their own emotion.
Right.
Just because your wife cries, like, you know, that's just her response to it.
Well, and it's only the extreme frustration, right? Like the extreme or the extreme level. You know, people hit typically crying or anger. Yeah. Typically at that upper echelon, right? Not many people get really frustrated and then start laughing.
Some people do. I've seen it.
I've never seen anybody.
Are you a psychopath? Can we be best friends just in case? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think I always like to take a step back, and whenever I feel myself getting frustrated or whatever, upset, I mean, and this is just something newer as I've gotten older again that I have tried to hone into with taking a step back and then just trying to look into that deeper.
Like, where the heck did that come from?
Well, yeah, I mean, what is causing this? Okay, I'm frustrated with whatever the surface level of what this person said to me or what just happened in this situation, but okay, what's going on in here? Like, let's actually take a step back and, I don't know, just dig deeper into it, because, you know, if you're frustrated and you lash out and you just scream, yeah, that's one thing, but why are you screaming? Like, what is it about that situation that really, really, really got to you to make you scream?
See, I don't think I have the patience to do that. And then I also don't think I have the patience or the mental capacity to do what you do. And when you receive negative comments, just delete them quickly and not even like give them any
engage.
Thought.
I don't engage.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Do you know that
Amy's,
I know?
Amy's a beast that
I'm
way.
a beast at it. Yeah. And then I do something funny. Like, did you see the post where I messaged someone STOP, stop?
Oh, like it's a bot, like unsubscribe.
Yeah, that's how I responded to somebody,
fantastic.
And it got furious from there. And I didn't respond, and I waited and waited because it kept getting funnier, actually, to me.
Right.
Yeah.
But this person was so furious. But those weren't my feelings.
Right.
But see, that's also just a projection of that person.
Do you think we're all mirrors?
You're right.
The people who
You're
are
right.
in front of us, right? You're a mirror. You're a mirror.
Sure.
You're a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
We're all mirrors of each other.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And when like I say something and you get mad at me or whatever, happy, right? Whatever, you laugh at me, right? Think about that. Like, why did I feel that way towards her? What was that?
Sure.
Yeah,
And it has to do with us as individuals. Is that crazy?
Patience is a big thing, RJ. Because I mean, for the longest time, and again, it might be just, you know, getting older. I think age is kind of great because if you pay attention, it does slow you down. And then what happens is when you slow down just a little bit, it gives you a chance to reflect on the moment. And oftentimes, with that little couple second reflection, and you take a breath. It reminds me of the pre-internet days where I didn't react to I wasn't triggered by every little thing. I would contemplate. And when I started to contemplate my response, oftentimes I realized I don't need to respond, or I would respond in a completely different way, or I'd wait till the next day. The intensity of the information has not served me well all the time, and I recognize that.
Agreed.
So by slowing it down, which is kind of like part of the reason we do this show, is to slow the conversation down, slow life down a little bit, and just talk with each other. But in this matter, me responding to all these different inputs. When I take that extra breath and I look around for a second, even a couple seconds, I will not respond the same way as I would had 3 or 4 seconds earlier if I just saw it and said, shit. And went, it's just a different coping mechanism for me. And I need it because this old brain gets inundated all day with client issues. I mean, you're in my field, you get it. And it's to the point where if I only react at the spur of the moment all the time in an effort to be efficient, the quality of interaction suffers. And I think that spread to my personal life. So now I just take that extra couple breaths and I tend to make better decisions.
I'll have to try that. But I do notice that with the social media aspect, it feels like you're connected all the time, right? Like we were talking about Instagram
you're
Reels.
On all the time.
Yes.
Even when you don't want to be on, you're like a light bulb. It's never turned off.
You look at your screen time every day, you're like, was I really on my phone that much today?
Uh-huh.
Like, how did that happen? And then you don't realize it, but you're
Dog videos.
You're scrolling through those reels and you're
Babies.
listening to those TikTok songs and you're like,
Dog videos.
Man, 45 minutes has gone by and I'm still scrolling through these stupid videos.
Yeah, but puppies
that are...
and dogs, man. You can't beat it.
But for me, I'm like, wow, that was a big time waste. Like, I'd rather be doing something productive. But then some people will say, well, mentally, I need that break.
Yeah.
But are you getting a break? Or are you just still connected? I think that's the
That's
craziest
our
thing.
excuse that we give for that.
Yeah.
You know that,
Bingo.
right?
Yeah, of
so
course.
it's an
Bingo.
excuse that we give. And shutting your brain off, like, have you guys ever done like a sensory deprivation?
I have.
Like a float tank?
Yep.
No.
So cool.
Okay.
Yep.
So cool.
Highly recommended.
And it's usually an hour sesh. But you're floating in water, and there's levels to this. Like, you can have twinkle lights on. Or
Just come
like,
in here.
I know. Or like you can have some sound, or you can have nothing at all.
Yeah.
Right? So like you can choose, and it is fantastic because things around you are turned off, but your brain just runs. It's called monkey brain.
Right.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And if you can slow that down by utilizing certain techniques, right? It is so good for you. Like, as far, like, I'm pretty into wellness, right? So like, mind is superior over everything. Once we get our minds right, then our bodies can follow.
Right.
If people would understand that and hone in and be disciplined to go after what they
You're
want,
asking humans to be disciplined.
it can be done. I'm a human.
Oh, it can be done.
I'm a human.
But I'm just saying, that's a big ask. That's a big ask.
Because that's
can
another
be.
decision, right? It goes back to the number
Choices.
of decisions a day.
Yeah, choices.
Yeah.
Constant choice.
Making the choice to not, like, my phone just vibrated in my pocket, right? Making the constant choice to not immediately grab that and see what happened. It's a choice, right? And making that choice to be disciplined and turn your brain off and try to not have the monkey brain, that's decisions. And if you're already overtaxed that you've made 1,000 decisions that day, that's going to be tougher and tougher as the day goes on.
Okay, I want to ask you because Lisa works in my brokerage.
Yeah.
And we work together on deals and so forth. So without her, my life is miserable. She's just really good at it, but she's handling not only my transactions, but other agents in there too. I don't actually know how she does it. And then she's dealing with our broker he's demanding. He just is a good guy, just demanding. He's got a lot on her plate. So I want to ask you, because I don't even like calling you because I'm afraid I'm calling you and I'm going to throw my transaction data on you when you're probably sitting with 10 of them in front of you. How do you manage all of that? Because you're always so polite to everybody. Like to an agent, if you ask them about her, she'll say, "Oh my gosh," she says, "How does she do it? She's always so nice and she's never flustered." And maybe we just don't see it, but how do you take extra time before you respond? Because it seems like you think about every response, and I admire that. I do, because I wish I could be more like that.
Well, so let's say you call me and you say you need this, and this done. Okay, got it. I write it down, or like I always have a to-do list. There's never not something on that notepad that needs to be done.
Okay.
So I write it down, and I guess I just look at it as what's the highest priority here. I mean, I already have 5 other things that I need to be done, and you know, what is the most important thing that I need to get done right away, and what's obviously pressed for time, because there are certain things that need to be done, especially regarding the transactions. We're on a time limit there, but
It's like triage.
yeah, exactly.
That's how she has to treat it, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
triage.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and I mean, there have been days where I've had to tell the broker, I mean, I'll get to this tomorrow. I already have like 10 other things going on, and you know, I have you and I have like other people attending to as well. So just sometimes things have to get put off. And
Have you always been like that, or did you develop that skill in this particular job?
no, I noticed that about myself when I got into college, because I had a job and I had internships. I had 3, but I would always have one internship, my job, and then I was a full-time student. And then just like dealing with my personal life, but especially like mainly regarding assignments, I was like, okay, I have this, I have to do this paper to write, this exam this day, and according to my schedule, I have to fit everything in. So I guess I just got really good about managing my time, or at least I tried my best to be able to manage it as well as I could have.
But you're able to respond to everybody, no matter, like, there's never a time that you don't pick up your phone. Very rarely. And I know the amount of work you have in front of you, in the diversity with everything. And you always are calculated in your response to people. And I noticed a little delay sometimes, so I know that you think about that. I mean, that's like, for a young person, she gets it. Like, see, it's a pretty impressive talent. I'm not the only one that's noticed this, because the default response from most people when they get flustered, or when they feel like they're flustered, is they just start the anxiety sets in, and then the responses aren't real good. They're not high quality, and that creates consternation, and you just deflect all of that anxiety, which I think makes us feel less anxious. Does that make any sense? In some way, it kind of rubs off the other way.
Well, sorry.
No.
I guess with that, I mean, every time something comes on my plate, I think to myself, okay, I know that I need to get this done, but I'm not thinking about that right now. I will get to it, but
most humans can't do that.
It's taken me a while to develop that. So I've been in the engineering field for close to 15 years, and it was within the last 5 years that I've started, notes and to-do lists, and then triaging from that to-do list. And I think putting it out in front of you and then looking and going through it, whether it's on your phone or whether it's on a pad or whatever,
Right.
I think, like you said, most humans don't do that. And it may be the connectivity with social media. It may be that everybody's connected all the time, so everything seems like a priority. But until you write it down, I don't think or until you document it some way or put it in a folder somehow, I don't think you're able to then prioritize. Like you're saying, some people think a small decision should require a huge amount of thought, and then a huge decision is just, I'll just decide that right now. Okay, I don't know about that.
How many people maneuver their life like that every day?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Making massive, life-changing decisions.
Spend more time at
They're
Starbucks.
choosing, or they're choosing, what's my Starbucks order?
Right,
What's cereal am I going to buy
spend
today?
15 minutes deciding what you want at Starbucks.
It's a venti ice, cream tea, light ice.
By the way,
please,
the
thank
over
you.
one, she hasn't touched that much.
I know. But
over one.
then they go to buy a car and they spend 30 seconds haggling the car salesman, right?
I'm like, I want a white one.
Right.
That's it.
and then suddenly they're signing, a 6-year loan. It's wild. It's wild. So I applaud you for being young and developing that trait.
Thanks.
Rather than taking time.
yeah, I mean, I've always been like that, and I don't know, just like I was saying before, I just lost my train of thought, but like I was saying before,
Your responses are always very calculated, very kind and calculated, but they're relaxed as well too. Like, I've never ever seen or heard you flustered, ever. I'm sure you have been, but I've never seen it. I've never heard it on the phone.
I think I also have, just since being in school and since I literally my planner in college was like my Bible. I took it everywhere with me, and then having developed that, going into now, going back to social media or text messages or calls, when I commit to something, I always follow through with it. Or if I see someone call me or text me, I, like, 99.9% of the time will call or text them back, but it might not be for a day, or I don't know. That's just the way my brain works. I
So you have order in your brain. I mean, you're
Yeah.
the way your default way of thinking is in an organized fashion. Mm-hmm. Is that right to say?
Yeah, I would say like I know. I'm thinking of text messages that I have in my text chain that I have not texted back to, but
They don't stress you out, though.
no, because I know eventually I will. And
Okay. What about you?
I was going to say, judging by the four of us, I think all four of us have very organized minds, maybe in slightly different ways, but different ways of organizing.
I'm the least organized. Trust me. She's seen my inbox. She's seen.
But having never met these two, right? I know you, and I know you are organized. You do get back to people.
Oh yeah. I put priority on communication organization.
Correct.
For sure. Yeah.
And then having heard your story a little bit, and having heard your story now, I think we're all organized. I'm an engineer by trade. I'll tell you that I'm not overly organized all the time, but my mind's always thinking about something that I have to do or something on the to-do list. Like in school, I was involved in everything. Like if there was something that I could have joined or gotten involved in, captain of the soccer team,
Right.
captain of the cross country team, member of student government, and I'm that way now too. Like if I'm on a committee, I'm usually in a leadership position or actively participating. If I have a to-do list, it's going to get checked off
You wanna be
ASAP.
engaged.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
heavily.
That's
and
you
then,
too.
And then I have pride in that though, right?
Yeah.
Like that motivates me. Back to what you post and what you do, it motivates me to do that and to accomplish things and to help people. But I also get intrinsic motivation from that too. So I get some of that braggadocious,
We all have it.
positive feedback loop from doing that kind of
Absolutely.
stuff, right?
As you should.
Yeah. Well, you need that. I mean, if you don't have anything like that in your life, then you're sitting in a room watching TV, scrolling through reels. Like you need something.
I'd
I
be
think.
wondering what the heck I was doing though with my life, if I wasn't
Yeah.
getting like
My dad
positive
just retired,
reinforcement.
and I'm
Right.
like, Dad, like I don't know if I'd ever be able to retire because I feel like I would need to constantly have something to keep me motivated and going.
I was just talking about this with our burger the other day, and he was asking me about goals, and my immediate thought was, if I don't have something, there's always a to-do list. I remember when I was younger, I'm thinking, I finally got everything done. But as you get older, it's like, no, you didn't.
Right.
There's always something else to do. You might think that you got your to-do list done, but there's still 10 other things that you could be doing, and accomplishing things. So yeah, in my personal life, I'm a goal-oriented person, and I'm always trying to work towards something, and then once I get that done or I accomplish whatever it was, it's like, okay, what's the next thing? But I'm already thinking about what the next thing is before I've even accomplished that. Because if I'm not thinking about what the next thing is going to be, then I start to feel complacent, and I just don't let myself get there because it gives me anxiety. I don't know.
You get anxiety from that. Okay, from that. But I can't imagine you having anxiety. You don't
Like
seem the type.
I feel like I'm always.
It's like that extreme, you're going from all to nothing.
Yeah.
So you confront nothingness with a negative reaction. I love nothingness.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Really?
I have to be doing something or focused on something. Like
Yeah.
my wife will tell you, I don't have hobbies. Anything I do, I go hard at. That's my hobby. Like when I started brewing beer, I suddenly wanted to become like a brewer. Like if I I work out, like suddenly I want to be a
You
fitness
immerse
instructor.
yourself.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, 'cause I'm
very
kinda like
immersed,
that too.
and I'm
Yeah.
very passionate about
Right.
things that I undertake. And so very rarely do I just want to sit and veg and do nothing. Now sometimes it happens, maybe once a week for an hour or two, but
So what does that look like for you? What does veg look like to you?
and you normally having a beer out on the patio, just enjoying the sunset. But then I'll look around and I'll look in my yard and be like, oh man, I need to pull those weeds, or I need to cut the grass, or do
You gotta
something.
fix that.
Normally I would go and sit in some sort of a meditative state, or once I work out, I find the best time for me to meditate is right after I work out, because my energy is gone and then my brain can then also
Interesting.
relax. So then, and it'll also bring my breathing down. It'll also bring my core temperature down. It'll do all that. So I find that's the best time
Okay.
for me. But I understand the running on all cylinders and always thinking about something. But as I've gotten older, that's, I think, slowing down, I hope. Because it's like you're anxious. You're like, oh, there's nothing to do?
It's draining. I mean, even just in the day-to-day, I don't know. I can't help it. It's just how my brain is wired, but it's exhausting. And I can't also just sit there. I mean, earlier today, I'm thinking, I think I'm going to just have a chill day at home. Nope. That lasts like 10 minutes, and then I'm thinking, okay, I need to get up and do something.
Sure.
And I don't know, just
like you said, that as an adult, there's rarely a day where there isn't something productive that you can do, right? Around your house. You could vacuum. You could pressure wash the outside. You could, there's something you could do, right? You could run a little laundry. You could sweep the downside. I don't know, whatever adult things you could do. And as a parent, even more so, because there's usually prep you can do for your family or for your kids or something like that. So
I'm dying to hear you on this subject.
So she's focused on wellness, so I'm excited to hear what she has to say too.
Because I know you're at peace with all the compartments in your life, and I know that spending.
I must be.
You are. Oh, there's no doubt.
What choice do I have?
Well, I mean, spending Amy time.
Yeah.
Is a part of it, and you're at peace with it.
Yes,
all
I
right?
must.
Is that a good guess?
I must. I have this thing where if it's like, if my cup isn't full, then I can do nothing for anyone else.
So then that's your, our stressor is if we don't have something to do. Your stressor is to keep that cup full. That way you can keep going, right? Because you just said I must, not like I enjoy it, but I must.
I must be something, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm not at peace with how I'm leading my life.
Right.
Then I should probably check myself and pivot a different way. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's just interesting the way you said it. So your cup, do you mean emotionally? What do you mean when your cup has to be full?
Me. I have to be full. So
fulfilled?
Yes, absolutely.
Or busy?
Yes.
For us, it's motivation based on accomplishing goals.
Do we call it busy, though? Sometimes I can be busy, but
right.
I don't prioritize the busyness. I have direction with what I do. So sure. You're getting things done for people, right? You're also getting things done for people. Correct. It's not busy.
Right. So
it's
that's our way of filling our cup up. Is that
I don't know how you do it. I know how I do it.
Got it.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
I think I do.
Because I don't know how you
I like
you
I like her way of describing it.
Right. I don't know how you fill your cup up, right?
So,
and you say
right.
all
all the things. I take care of myself mentally. I just touched on that, right? Yeah. So if I don't get my mind right, how can I do anything for my kid?
Sure.
Yeah.
Just stop right there.
Right. And I go through that all the time. I'm like, I got to get some cortisol out. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to help anybody else, right? If you don't help yourself first.
But that looks like so many different things. Just to me personally. You said cortisol. Right. Are you talking about working out?
Yeah, or anything meditation, working out, doing something fun for yourself.
That release.
Any sort of release, right? Yeah. Taking a hot shower.
All of it can be a release, though. You have to understand what it is in front of you, right? I don't think that I could be oh yeah, tonight I'm busy. If somebody asked me to hang out, well, tonight I'm busy, right?
Right.
Well, what am I doing right now? What am I doing? I'm hanging out with you guys.
Right.
This is of substance, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This was put in my way for a reason.
Right.
And I'm just here experiencing with you guys. So I am in the present moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a philosophy. It's actually a philosophy mindset in regards to how you look at each event in your life.
Yeah. I slow things down constantly.
Yeah.
Right.
Constant.
I could get that vibe.
Yeah. I know that I am in control of myself. I need to pick up some
habits from these.
I do too.
Do you think that this is a female thing?
I don't know, but I'm the same way. I mean, I just feel like I've evolved so much in the past year at least, but just being present is so important. And I have not been present for most of my 20s. And so that's something that I even though I know that I have this, and this that I want to do, obviously I'm not doing it right now, or I'm not working on it. Not to say I'm not, but I mean, for example, looking for an apartment or something, obviously that's not being done right now, but it's those are things that I know I want to do and I will get done. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's always reminding myself to just be in the moment. And like you said, you invited us here today for a reason, whatever that, to have a conversation. But again, I like to look deeper into it.
Sure.
And just reminding yourself to like be there. And I don't know, going back
it's experience. It's whatever that experience is. You know, it could be a good one or a bad one, but how do we know it's even good or bad? It unfolds as it is. Then, you know, you can put labels and stuff on it, but then even in the end, sometimes like bad things, like we were talking about COVID and the bad things that it did to people, it tore people apart. And I think like you probably experienced some of these folks, right?
Yep.
You know, huge decline in like giving a shit about themselves and like pivoting into like eating fast food nonstop or whatever those choices are. Yeah, whatever that maybe like vice is. Is it a vice? Is it us like yielding to the environment that is around us constantly? Right? I always think that we all have a choice to decide what we want. It doesn't matter what environment we're in. We can get out of the environment. We can change the environment. It is, isn't this like a Gandhi thing?
It could be. Have we succumbed? Let me ask you this question. Have we succumbed willingly to the web? Now, again, my frame of reference, I can remember before web and post web. Have we succumbed to it? Have we just given ourselves to the web and has the web then dictated the way we think, the pace that we think, the changing in our decision making, the changing in how we interact with other people? Because I'm telling you,
it has.
Before the web, we didn't treat people the way we treat them now.
I think a large portion of people in general, I'll say yes. But again, it's that filter capacity, right? Because if you have a stronger filter capacity, for example, you just mentioned she doesn't respond poorly. The filter capacity is there.
I've never heard her do it.
You just mentioned you have to get yourself right before you can help others. That filter capacity is there. I filter all day, every day. There's a lot of folks, I think, that don't have that filter capacity.
100%.
And then they're, I don't want to say a part of the masses or like a sheep that follows whatever they see.
They're just reactive at that point.
They're so reactive.
Yes.
And then they believe whatever they're being told, whatever they're hearing, whatever they're seeing.
They've given themselves to the web. They've become a slave of this web thing that's just out there in society.
Correct.
Spitting out information.
Yeah, no critical thinking because their filter is gone, right? There's no recharge, like whether addicted to caffeine or alcohol.
It's a choice. Everything
it's
comes
a choice.
down
They
to
believe
choice.
it is truth, so it is their choice to believe it as truth.
But if that filter is so thin, that choice is almost non-existent, right? You're just sucked in. Again, whether you're an alcoholic or whether you're addicted to caffeine or the TV or your phone. Like, I mean, how many people do you guys know personally that are always on their phone?
Right.
I know a ton. And it's sad because you're like, please stop that. But it's almost not a choice for them anymore because that filter is gone.
Let me talk about that. So this is fascinating. I know you're going to think I'm lying to you, but I swear to you I would never do that. I'm telling you the honest to God's truth. From the moment I started the show, I can probably count maybe 10 or 15 people that I had on this show who refused to turn their phone off when I asked them to.
Were they celebrities?
A couple of them were minor celebrities, yeah.
Like B-list, C-list, C-list?
I think all mine would probably be
D-list.
But it was, but in reality, it was, they were polite. They did kind of like set to the side, and I think some of them eventually turned their ringers off. And I wasn't offended because you can't offend me. I'm unoffendable. I just don't care.
Right.
You know, people are going to feel the way they do. I'll just deal with their feelings the way I see them. But I saw a panic in their eyes to a person. Mm-hmm. It was like I was asking them to cut their hand off. I mean, really. And I asked them, I said, if you've got a pregnant wife or something, or it's an emergency or someone in the hospital right now that you're waiting on an important call, we'll deal with that, I promise you. But for this to work, I need you here.
Do you think that they're like out of integrity though? Like their feelings come from being out of integrity, and that's why they have to think about it.
Deep.
Yeah, they're out of integrity, so they're just like, oh no, and do you know what I'm saying?
I think it's just compulsion. I think again, when you do something for so long, so you work out pretty often, I take it.
Oh, she's a beast.
Sometimes.
No, she's a beast.
For like 45 minutes, maybe like...
No, but I'm saying you work out consistently.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle.
Right? Yeah, it's a lifestyle for you, right?
Oh, it's a lifestyle.
So if somebody asked you not to work out for the next 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, would you just do it? Or like the compulsion for some of these people is kind of crazy. So it would be...
But like, why would you tell me to do that?
Well, and I'm sure that's why these people are saying the same thing to Eric. Like, why would you tell me to put my phone away?
Good point.
Right?
Yeah, that's what they're saying to me. Like, why are you asking me? How dare you?
they're-
Almost like, how dare you?
Their
ask
brain
me?
is wired the same way.
Right,
though,
but it's not like a how dare you. I'm just curious as to why you would want me to stop doing
he's
that
using an
particular
example.
thing.
It's just an example.
Yeah.
It's just an example.
But
right.
no, that's how I would
So
react.
these-
I wouldn't.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
see what you're saying.
Do you
That
know what
would
I'm
be-
saying?
Yeah.
I would
got
want to
it.
know. Hey, like why?
Well, they a couple of them did ask me why. What's
Yeah.
the problem? And I said, well,
Well, is there a problem? I was just.
this
I'm
is
just
what
curious.
I said you did have an idea when you came here that this is just not an audio podcast. There's cameras, just like 8 cameras here. So everybody's always like, if someone's watching it, that camera's on you.
Right.
And I still had 2 guests, and they're wonderful people. They'll probably come back. But I've had 2 guests on this show that actually, during a panel show like this, 2 of them actually leaned back in their chair with their phone and went like this.
Oh, to take.
While it wasn't
Pictures.
their turn to while it wasn't their turn to talk, they got kind of like more interested in their phone than the conversation. They leaned
That's
back
rough.
in their chair.
Ah.
So, I mean,
They got sucked in.
but what I'm saying is, I'm not even upset with them because I realize I kind of pity that they're that far. They're now on. They're in a production, a film production. They see the cameras. They feel there's a level of formality here. I don't want any, but there's not. It's your first time here. It's different from if we were sitting on a couch having a conversation.
Right,
There's a little
yeah.
more formality here.
Right.
But they couldn't break away from that phone. Amy, I'm telling you, they leaned back in that chair and it
Yeah.
was just.
So what
You
I
should have fell out of your chair.
And you're
Done
younger.
something, right?
You're younger than me, but my friends group, it's almost a lack of respect. It feels.
That's what I was going to say, yeah.
Because if we're hanging out, like let's say
Yeah.
we go out for a couple beers, or we're going out to play some flag football, whatever it is, and you're on your phone more than we're bowling, then it's like, do you want to be here? Because you could just be doing that at your house, or you could be doing that anywhere else. I would love a little more respect, and we have this conversation together, right?
Absolutely.
It's wild that they would do that.
Oh,
Because I've never met
believe
these
it.
2, and I wouldn't do that. Right?
Yeah. But
do
It's
you
that shame thing. I would feel shameful if I did that.
Got it. Good point. Way to tie that back.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think it has to do with the fact that these people are purposefully realizing that they lack that respect?
They don't have any idea. That's the
No.
best part. They don't have any idea. I bet you. Did they even notice that they did that?
Or
Okay.
whatever they're looking at, they respect more. So, for example, if somebody...
Is it, though?
Well, I'm in the process of selling a house, right?
Okay.
So, let's say I had somebody that called me and said, hey, I want to buy your house. And I respected that more than I respect this production. That would cause me to say, okay, I'm going to step away, or I'm going to
Yeah.
take this,
Yeah.
right? But... Or there's tiers, right? Like if somebody in my family called me right now and I saw it on my watch, I would be like, "Hey, I have to step away."
Yeah.
Right. But I wouldn't just lean back and browse Instagram
here-
or
this is-
Facebook
this is
while,
the best-
while
the
you
best thing
ladies
ever.
are talking.
You'll
Were
love
they
this.
looking something up?
No, I think they were just messaging something. But the greatest thing
shit.
ever, though, is I left it in both instances, and
Sure.
you can watch these episodes and you can see
The lean.
That's wild.
while the other 3 are talking.
Should
me
have fell
included.
right out of your chair.
Yeah, and again, I know it wasn't. I mean, they were happy to be here. They seemed like they
Yeah.
had a great time. It was just like, wow,
Well, and,
like
and it's not
It's
always a lack of
escape-
respect. Sometimes
it's escapism, is what
and
it is.
It's compulsion, because I do
Yeah.
it too.
Compulsion, I think.
To
I'll go out to
escape
dinner with
constantly.
friends or family, and I'll do it too. I'll get a text and I'm like, "What?" Like afterwards, why did I need to respond to that right then? Right? I could have waited. I could have put it on my to-do list and responded later afterwards. But sometimes it's a compulsion because you're
Boundaries.
connected to the internet. because you're so connected.
So here's where, and this is
Boundaries.
where I think,
Right. Developing
this is
those
where
is
I
tough.
think in some way it isn't harder. I don't want to say it's harder or easier, but I do think I'll use the word difficult. It's difficult for me because I have a frame of reference that remembers the pre-internet days or before texting became a thing on an iPhone, when it was old T9 texting, no one did it.
Right.
But when the iPhone made texting like a thing,
right.
I wasn't looking for text messages, and if I didn't want to pick up the phone, it would go to voicemail.
That was the
I was
sidekick
not
from T-Mobile.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
right.
the slider phones
Do you
that had the
remember
full
that?
keyboard.
Do you remember
Yeah,
the
one of those,
sidekick?
yeah.
Everybody had to have a sidekick.
But that was a title
And the BlackBerry.
shift.
Or a Blackberry.
BlackBerry,
Yeah, I had Blackberry.
businessmen, BlackBerry businessmen,
yeah.
and teenagers or
Yeah.
younger folks had these slider phones with
Cool
the full
kids.
keyboard.
The
yeah.
envy.
But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in all
Yeah,
honesty,
envy for you. Yeah.
I would not interrupt my day for anybody's text message. Nothing wasn't that important. And
Yeah.
I was a young person in corporate America then, but nothing was. I was in outside sales. Nothing was that important.
Right. And you most days, if you got a call about a sale, you probably wouldn't return it that day. You might give yourself a few days. Nowadays in corporate world, if I call somebody and I don't get a response pretty quickly, you almost expect an not instantaneous, but a quick response.
Yeah.
So everything is a big turnaround. And I have this conversation with my supervisor all the time. I'm like, I don't know how to prioritize these tasks sometimes because it's a fire drill on both of these, and one seems very important and the other one doesn't seem that important, and it's a fire drill on both of these. So I don't know, I can decipher it now,
right.
But if I was a new employee and you send me 2 fire drills, I'm going to put them on that same to-do list.
How do you do it?
I'm going to put them on the same echelon. Yeah, it's wild.
No, it's and it's funny, we created this immediacy. Like, we've done it to ourselves. We've created this urgent, crazy, chaotic world that we've all sharing, and we're all moving faster and faster and faster because we're doing it to ourselves. But the concept of stepping off, because none of us will do it. No one will step off completely.
You just have to make it look cool. I'm serious.
Yes.
You have to make it look some kind of way so people could be like, oh my gosh, I need that as like a consumption thing. Does that make sense? Like, so I am just in like the wellness world, and I just see like how it has evolved over time and how much we actually have at our fingertips.
Right.
But the way that you connect within wellness is like, it's like peer to peer more. It's not necessarily like it gives us access, right? Like this metaverse, or
oh god,
it gives us access, right? So I look at it as like an access point of goodness, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But I realize that there's like negative things out there. Again, it's just my own, I render myself ignorant kind of thing for a good cause, because that doesn't need to occupy my mind.
And again, but you make that choice.
I know, right?
Yeah. Every time you make that choice. That's
almost every time. It depends if I want to get into trouble or not.
Right.
So, are any of you familiar with the metaverse? And if you are, what do you know of it?
Do you mean the internet?
No, I'm talking about Mark Zuckerberg's
VR world.
New VR world, which is entitled Metaverse, which he has renamed the Facebook. Now, is it a holding company? Is like Meta a holding company for Facebook, or is Facebook officially changed to Meta now?
I think Meta is the parent company, and Facebook is one of the entities inside
Instagram.
of it. If I had to guess, I'm guessing it's Instagram's also part of that.
Okay,
entity.
So have you seen any of this stuff? Like, the reason I ask is I had the chance to put on this virtual reality headset. I could take about 3 minutes of it because it was pretty unbelievable. But it freaked me out because I can tell it's got a long way to go yet. You can see it's still kind of like this weird, but it gave me massive, not anxiety, it's giving me massive, like, I felt like I was going to fall over. Like, I could not... and maybe I didn't, I think you have to prep it, right? You have to like find your boundaries and so forth in the room and all that. And I didn't do that. I just kind of stuck someone else's experience on. Right. And it wasn't the most popular one out there now. What's it called? Is it Facebook's, or is it, it's the headset?
I've used VR headsets before, so I understand your
There's a step
reference.
up from that. Yeah, there's a step up. This was crazy technology.
Is it Google Glass?
Oculus? Is you talking about
Oculus?
It was the one. It's the one that's considerably more expensive and kind of a niche market now. That's got even higher resolution and definition. It's the next level up, which I'm not familiar with. Bloody expensive. I wouldn't pay for it, but it gave me a feeling of what was to come, and it's pretty. For me, with my quote-unquote frame of reference of 56 years, it's kind of horrifying.
I'm scared to death of this idea because, for example, during the break, we were just talking, hey, there's a beautiful sunset outside. Let's go look at it. Well, now at any time, somebody could put on this headset and experience a sunset. Are they experiencing a sunset? Probably not. They're seeing it, but the other senses aren't there. And then the whole idea of plugging into something like The Matrix, or like if you've ever seen Gerard Butler movie Gamer. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this movie. It's kind of an obscure movie that most people haven't seen. But like convicts would go to jail, and then they would plug themselves into this VR, and then like rich kids would be able to control their body and put them through like a Call of Duty style game. And if they make it to the end without dying, they get released from prison. That's like an extreme way where this may head. But I could see people coming home from work and instead of scrolling through reels, just putting on a headset, and then it's 11 o'clock and suddenly they're like, wow, where did 6 hours go? Right? Would you agree? I mean, from a wellness standpoint, that can't be good.
What's your thoughts on it? Just your thoughts generally on VR, even in its most primitive state, and that's kind of where we're at now.
So I look at it in two different ways. So from like a sedentary, do we call it sedentary way of existing through the metaverse currently, things will get to the point where we can experience and move through the metaverse as a human looking through the glass, right?
Okay.
So if you look at it from that way, they're getting up and moving versus sitting. We're like karate chopping stars in half or whatever. Does that? I assume it's games, and I assume it's walking around.
You can do anything.
Experiencing,
I guess, right?
yeah.
You could take a workout class, right?
Right.
And where you're moving,
it's already happening. Peloton,
sure. Or you could just sit there and experience a safari ride through the Serengeti. I'm guessing.
Meanwhile, you're in Iceland.
Meanwhile, you're in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an
10 degrees outside.
It's an alternate reality. So, did you guys see the movie Everything, Everywhere, All at Once?
No, I want to see it. Just by the title, I want to see that.
You should see it. It's all about this. I saw it. It had a wonderful message, and I cried. I went to see it at Manor Theater. It's my favorite theater, Squirrel Hill.
Right on.
Yeah. It's like 100 years. Have you been
No.
Go to Manor Theater one time. It's fantastic.
Have you been?
Yeah, you can get a nice drink. It's 100 years old, I believe, the facility itself. So it's like ancient.
You'll have to remind me after this. I'll put it on my to-do list.
Yeah, right.
No, in all seriousness.
And they only play like very good movies, so they're very select at what they choose to be played. And they had this there, and I jumped all over it. I couldn't wait because it dives into the metaverse or alternate reality. It's a collective consciousness, though. Did I lose everyone?
No, that's just wild.
Yeah, right? It's a collective consciousness. And in the movie, they sort of stop and they're like, what are we doing? What are we really doing? So the humanity came into play, and then the message was fantastic.
My biggest concern about the metaverse is anything in today's world is all about money. And when you're scrolling through Instagram and Facebook now, every 2 posts there's an ad. And you tune them out because you just scroll by. If you get put into this metaverse, there's going to be ads posted and you won't even know it. Like suddenly a truck goes by with a Pepsi logo on it.
It already happens, though.
Right, but I'm saying, like, imagine if you're strapped into that for hours.
Yeah, but we already are. It is our reality every single day. There's ads on buses.
Right, but consciously, you're going to lose. I think people are going to, without those filters are going to come home. They're going to plug in, just like Ready Player One. If you guys have seen that movie, they're going to come home, they're going to plug in, and then they'll go to sleep. They'll wake up, go to work, and
Huxley,
then
right?
That'll just be
their existence
repeated, and it won't be workout videos.
No, it's escapism again.
Well, absolutely,
yeah, it's what they want to actually become,
correct,
without them having to do anything to get it. It's instant gratification.
Agree.
Bingo. So this is my fear. I mean, there's a lot of fears. Projecting into the future and seeing where this is headed, probably a lot of fears. But my initial fear is that you're right about one thing. Right now, they're introducing us to this VR world by strapping on this headset, and there's hand things we go there, and we do exercises, and we're interactive. But I think it's just a slow conditioning to taking humanity and plugging us into this where we're just going to lay there. I think that this is just a way that they're getting us acceptable to it now. Oh, there's a good benefit. It's aerobic. It's this. It's that. It's you'll lose weight if you get on the VR because you'll be able to fight dragons and you're expending energy.
Cut stars in half,
or whatever.
Don't they do this?
I think you're right.
Probably.
It's something like
but I
that.
think the ultimate where we ultimately will head is we'll just become these beings that are just.
But we already are. We've already been. You know, we're just afraid of this new thing, just like we were afraid of the internet when it came
what's wrong
out.
with our reality? Why do we need a fake reality?
We've always escaped, though. That this isn't anything new. We've just escaped differently. Technology is just the thing that we are pouring ourselves into.
In the 80s, you escaped by going to the corner bar, right? Like the Cheers
Or like
mantra.
doing tons of coke.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
that too.
and then in the 90s, it was a big
Heroin.
CD player,
Ugh.
Discman,
Yeah.
kind of vibe, cassette tapes.
Lisa, we hear you.
Sorry.
and then now it's cell phones, and then maybe in the future it'll be VR, right? At least that's what I see, and then who knows what's after that. I mean, you've been through all these steps, right? So you can speak to all of them.
Well, I didn't do the heroin.
No,
cocaine maybe,
but like you were a part of
Yeah.
you were a part of an era that did certain things, and as things evolved, like you can say this for like the printing press and
I'm not that goddamn
well
old.
no I never said that, but I'm going way back, right? You could say this of the printing press
Right.
and allowing people to get literature in their hands.
Right.
This is the same. This is our new. This is
think?
our new. Yes, that
Could-
was
it could
technology.
be. But of course, the printing press then develops into propaganda press over time.
Right. There is a good and there is an evil to
Right.
all of this, you guys. It's our
Yeah,
choice to decipher
you
and
can't blame the
recognize.
tool. We blame the humans in the way they use the tool.
Yeah,
We're always evolving constantly. I mean,
should be.
we're at the
It
very
should be, right.
we're at the very, very beginning of technology. Like, okay, yeah, the metaverse is coming, and then 10 years later, something else. But I don't think that there's like she was saying, I can't even talk. There's not necessarily anything bad about it. It's all in how we portray it and how we decide to use it. And I mean, so far, so many people depend on their devices just because it's habitual, and they just look at their phone and it's, I was doing that again. Or it's just, that's just how people are, but they need to, it's just that coming back to,
Human existence, almost.
human existence, but just, I guess going back to that present. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we'll never lose that.
Well, what if the new present is when you're dialed in?
That is. It will be.
Yeah, I would say
horrible.
it is now.
So
Right?
I see nothing positive. I just
Okay.
don't. I mean, because I don't understand what's wrong with our current reality. I mean, we might have screwed up the world. We might have made some bad choices ultimately, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with our current reality that or is it so bad we have to escape to a fantasy
But that's
reality?
your perspective, that you don't want to escape what you've built, and you are happy with where you're at, even in the unhappiness. There are people that don't accept this of themselves, and they must escape, or they must do something of
Like, what do you mean?
I don't know, if I wanted to be the next Ariana Grande, but I have zero singing skills. Yes, I said it, ladies and gentlemen. Did you hear what I actually said? I love Ariana Grande. She can sing. But if I don't have this talent, but I still want that, could I make that happen in the metaverse?
Yes.
Let's go there.
But you're going to pay to make it happen.
Great.
But why do you?
I got Bitcoin stock.
I'm
Right, but that's
confused.
okay.
Just kidding, I
So,
don't.
so Eric, I
understand
liken
it.
it to the world changed completely. What, 2.5 years ago when COVID hit? I mean, my world was flipped. I'm a huge extrovert,
Oh,
right?
yeah, for sure.
For
sure.
hated
For sure.
the first 6 months. Like,
Right.
vehemently hated it. I was
I was bored out of my mind.
absolutely. I'm sure you were too, because I know you're very extroverted, right? And my wife and I live in Western Pennsylvania, and all of our friends and family live in Central PA. So it was a lot of Zoom. It was a lot of chat groups or like game nights over the computer.
Physical
And-
distance.
and the physical distance was very shitty. I think the VR is going to be like that. So what'll happen is, instead of Zooming a game night, we'll now all jump on a VR and do a game night if we needed to do something like that. However, still being extroverted, it's not like you're still touching the pieces, right? You're going to play Monopoly or play cards or whatever, but you're never going to fully touch those cards if you're in VR. I would rather take a walk in the grass, like barefoot in the grass rather than VR walking through a meadow.
But we'll be conditioned over time to not crave those things.
Correct. I think that's a fear, right? That's an ultimate
that
fear.
your brain will become rewired to want to escape that way.
You remember the smell of apple pie when you see it in front of you rather than actually experiencing apple pie. Yeah, I could see that, but I think it'll be very similar.
If I can live forever, I'm okay with that. I mean, I would volunteer. If I get to be an 80 and like it all deteriorates and I got a terminal disease and they can take my brain and wire it into something.
So isn't there a guy in Russia that can do this?
I would definitely do that.
So you'd be fine going into the Matrix movie and just getting plugged in.
Well, when I'm at the end of my physical life where my body just gives up, absolutely, I don't want to die. No. So I would be okay going on to the next thing because I'm not really sure there will be a next thing once I go into the ground. I'm not sure of that.
Sure. Yeah. I think I like the idea of a finite end personally. I don't think I would want to just continue to exist forever.
It depends on how if someone's going to manipulate me once I'm with this machine, that's a different story. Well, but if I knew what my existence was going to be.
The capitalism of this world says that somebody's going to manipulate you somehow.
We're always being manipulated.
Right?
So I don't know what this thing called an NFT is. I think it's an investment vehicle or whatever, but
non-fungible.
But I find it fascinating that you can buy a $75 sweater for your avatar.
You know what's interesting about this? It is art. It is digital art, and
I hate it.
Well, look at what art is. We were talking about art.
Sure,
you're younger. You have a different perspective, right? What do you think of NFTs? Because you would probably have a different perspective than the three of us.
I fully don't even know what the hell they are.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an artwork.
So it is an artwork, and it's a digital.
This is an artwork. I own this.
I know, but this is digital. Not everybody has access to this, right? So what creates the value is the popularity behind it, correct?
Just like anything. For example,
when I screenshot it for free,
right
and I own when I screenshot it for free, I now have a digital copy of it. Like, how do you protect the digital interest?
Right, that's my question.
Well, this is the conundrum that is art and what it goes through. Because have you seen some of this, like people that replicate great works of art, sell it for tons of money, and then no one knows, like, kind of like who has the real one anymore?
Right.
Yeah, you can only speculate. It's so interesting in that this is what this is being played out right now. It's no different. It's just a different way, and it's like,
where does the intrinsic value come? Because again, if
popularity.
Hear me out. Yeah. If I see, let's say I have a 27-inch monitor at home, high resolution, and there's a super high resolution graphic that is an NFT. But if that graphic gets populated on my screen, and I take a screenshot of that thing, now I can enjoy this art in any form. I probably could print out an 8x10 if I wanted to.
It's backed by a brand, so they take it back. There's a guy that I think he's a professor that breaks down like NFT, Bitcoin, all this stuff, and he goes back to he explains land and how, like,
in the VR
real
world.
estate. Well, it's the same thing. Real estate makes it money, right? So like McDonald's did this, I believe. Not the original two guys, but what's his name? Kroc. That's all he did. Ray Kroc created real estate behind the brand.
Yeah, he got real estate game, and then
it's the same thing. It's backed by some form of currency, and usually it's a brand. So, like, I'll give you an example, and this might be a poor one, but Paris Hilton. Her existence is a brand. Same with Kim Kardashian is a brand.
Sure.
When you create an NFT surrounded with a brand, then it becomes.
But it has to have intrinsic value to the ultimate purchaser, and I just don't know where the value comes from.
Right.
Like that hasn't been defined yet. Like, I mean, maybe in the VR, maybe in the metaverse, there'll be a way to value that, but without having that functional yet.
It's
all theory then.
It's part of the braggadocious bucket in some points too. So, for example, I could go on and say I'm the only one in the VR world that's allowed to have this gold sweater with my initials
it's
on
going
it.
right over my head. Man.
That's
so glad
real, though.
But it's real.
But that's real.
I guess,
So I
guess.
play some video games in my free time, and there's always been what's called microtransactions in any sort of video game. If you play any video game on your phone, there's usually microtransactions. So, for example, if you're playing Tetris on your phone, you fail 3 times, they might lock you out for 24 hours and say you don't have enough lives.
Okay.
But if you pay me $5, we'll give you 3 more lives right now. So you got people that are playing that game that really actively enjoy playing that. So they'll pay the $5 and to liken it back to something you may understand, you go bowling. Once you're out of frames, you're done bowling unless you pay for another game. It's just like that. And I think the NFT, while I hate it, is very like that. Like, so my avatar now has this gold chain with some emblem on it that only I can get. You can't screenshot it and send it to your avatar because I'm the only one that's allowed to have it.
And it's known.
And then I could sell it to you. Now, and it's all microtransactions.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the metaverse or Zuckerberg or somebody will take a cut out of every one of those microtransactions because that's how capitalism works. And I think that's where we'll end up eventually going, is that my money and my bank account will be connected to my metaverse account, which will then I'll be buying stuff on there. So, for example,
PayPal.
most of these paintings, I wouldn't pay $5 for because they're not my style, right? Most of the NFTs, you're not going to pay $5 for because they're not your style. You agree?
Yeah.
You agree? Like, I think that's eventually how it's going to work. And you don't see any value in it, but like, I don't see any value in some things in this world. You don't see any value in some things in this world.
This is how I feel right now. So I'm 56. And I'm looking at this VR world. I am now feeling like my parents did in the 80s when the PC, when homes have, and my parents had a decision to make. My father was a contractor, and he made a decision to I'm not getting involved with computers ever. My mother slowly adapted to it for work purposes, but my father made that conscious decision. So my dad, who lived to 2013, when he got dementia in 2013, but all those years, he shunned the internet, and he shunned the internet. He didn't even he knew it was out there. He saw his son grow a business on there, but he did not partake in it. And I feel like I'm at the precipice now where I have to make a decision. Like, I'm not going to get involved in this.
You can always change your
world.
Yeah, but you can always change that.
I mean,
if you want.
I'm fascinated by it, but I'm worried because I don't want to add another reality to my life. I mean, the only reality I want to deal with is the one that I can physically touch. Like, and this is a conversation we had on another podcast. I want your opinion on this. So, human connection, right? Like, the concept of I'll take the concept of sex, the human connection of two individuals having sexual intercourse. If that ultimately gets thrown out into the VR world, or some form of that from a visual or some touch sensors or whatever, they work on making that virtual thing feel real in some way. I don't know how they'll do it.
I think they actually do have this. I'm not kidding you. I really think this is...
It's probably headed to even get more advanced as it goes.
Yeah,
but I'm saying I don't want to be part of a world that takes that humanity away from me.
But some people don't have human connection, and they don't know how to obtain it.
And some people are okay with that, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, you could also dabble in the VR, right? You could do... And I think right now, the way I see VR is it's expensive. It's still in infancy, and so the people that are getting these high dollar headsets are the upper echelon of people in the world, right? And that's how PCs were at the beginning. And then now every single person has a PC. Almost every single person has an iPhone or a Droid or something like that, right?
It's a slow burn then.
Right. So you may have 20 years before everybody has VR, and then yet you still have folks in today's world that barely use an iPhone or don't use an iPhone, right? They still have flip phones, right?
Yeah.
And they're not ever going to do it. And then you have some people that use it a little bit, and then you have some people that do everything on it, right? Business, personal, everything. So I think you're going to have layers to VR just like that as well. Like you might have an avatar with no NFTs, right?
I don't
you don't
want
buy
an
a single
avatar.
thing. Well,
don't want an avatar.
You say that now.
I don't want a cartoon of me. I'm good.
You said you said you didn't want a PC at the beginning too. So
I was young. I mean, I went for everything, and look, the best thing I ever did as a human being, from a non-human thing, was that I did not reject technology. So I'm kind of being a hypocrite here. Like when the internet came, I was fascinated, but people in their mid-30s, a lot of them didn't want any parts of it. You know, I know what my job is. I do this at work, and I'm not this internet thing. I'm not buying into it. Well, for me, it was great. Built a business on it, had a lot of great times, and I adapted to it. But I'm at the point now, and I'm 56. I'm like, I don't know if I want to go down I don't know if I want to go into this metaverse. It's horrifying to me, and to some degree. But it's like, I mean, I'm still trying to figure out the reality I'm swimming in every day. I don't need another reality.
I mean, it's another sense of connection. So you talked about like
what do you mean?
You talked about like we'll just call it like physical touch.
Yeah.
As a way to connect. This is just a different way of connecting for some people.
Is it gonna roll out
humanity?
Well, just the type of connection we already have, like the type of social connection, you know, through social media and internet.
It'll evolve.
Okay.
And you either evolve with it, right? Because you want to be a part of the connection, or you choose not to be. And then you suffer those consequences, or you live as you live.
So
that's fine.
Let's go back to your sexual reference, right? Did you, when people would send love letters back and forth that got very graphic, were you against that? Probably not. When people started having phone sex, were you against that? Probably not. Nowadays, when AIM was around, there was chat rooms that were very explicit. Now you have OnlyFans, where somebody will literally do a private show for you, and you have strip clubs that you could go to. I think VR is just going to be another layer to that onion, right? Another peel back, and
another breakdown of the concept of shame.
Potentially, yeah. And
Maybe.
I think people, the level of shame goes away with money. I will say I've seen that personally, and I don't know if that's.
Why do you attach money as like a negative thing? Like abundance is a negative thing.
It's not a negative thing, but I'm saying normally what you see is
a driver.
It's a driver, right? Yeah. It's a motivator for people.
But that's how we exist as humans.
I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm saying that's typically, you see folks, anybody, male, female, whatever nationality you are, typically your shame level, it will go away with a certain dollar value or a certain value of something.
Everybody has their price, right?
Everybody. Everybody. Like, I don't think I would ever do a nude photo shoot for something on the internet, but I'm sure if somebody came along with enough money, I might consider that, right? I don't know. But I think, you see a lot of people with OnlyFans accounts, and you whether male, female, whether you're sending feet pics to people, like, you're making money off of it, right?
I've thought about it.
Yeah. I got hobbit feet. I'm sure there is a market for that. Yeah.
At least I'm honest. At least I'm honest.
Hey, I had a friend who was a wrestler, and she said that she got involved in this thing where men would send her money to take pictures of her squishing mud in with her feet, like videos and things. And she said it was ridiculous amounts of money.
Yeah.
So every night I would make these feet videos, and I would get mud and I'd put it in a bucket and I'd squish my feet in mud and make money.
Yeah.
Is
that immoral?
No. I don't think it's immoral. I think it's bizarre.
Anything,
people are weird.
Anything you can think of.
Fart jars.
Yeah, fart jars.
Wait, what?
You can fart in a jar and sell it, and someone will buy that.
If you're a pretty girl. If you're a pretty girl.
If you're an attractive lady in this world, you could sell anything you want.
I don't know about that.
Pretty sure you could sell toenail clippings if you wanted to. You could sell.
I don't know.
You could go buy a pair of Walmart underwear, put them on for 30 seconds, and sell them to somebody on the internet for 10 times what you paid for them.
Maybe 30 cents max.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure.
No,
I didn't hear about the fart jar. Is this the fart jar a new thing? What's the deal?
Well,
with the
it's just
fart
like
jar?
people who have feet, like foot fetishes. They have a fart jar fetish
because it's the human that farted in it.
Yeah.
They feel connected to them by owning their fart.
And so the person
I am not in Kansas anymore.
To go back to shame, who lost the shame there? The farter or the fartee? Right? Both. And like I went back to, like, a lot of people don't feel shame for some things they do. It's a living for them, right?
Yeah,
I get it. I would feel shame for that personally, but again, I can't control how you feel. You can't control how I feel. It's an emotion, right? So it's the craziest thing.
And like, whose is more valuable than the other?
Good point.
Neither.
Yeah, like there's
point.
no
Good
answer
point.
to
Right?
this.
Again, would I ever have my own OnlyFans? Probably not, because I would like inside, I wouldn't feel right about that. But I never say never, right? Because maybe in 10 years I won't feel shame for that, and I'll just do it, right? And again, it's not wrong or not wrong. It's just different.
Yeah. I mean, I'm open-minded enough to realize that there's no right or wrong here. It's just absolutely different. It's just, it's so bizarre to me from just looking at how my life's unfolded to think that this is somewhat like reality. Like, here's what I struggle with. So, I do think, to me, it was unconscionable that the mother sold the daughter's sex tape and profited from that in a very public way, unabashedly. You have to respect the decision that they didn't care.
Yeah, but did Kim say yes to it?
Oh, I'm sure, or else she'd be in jail. But
And hold on another second, it's the content that we're arguing about, correct?
So
who wants to own that content? It would be up to, if it was me, right? I would want to own that
I'm
content.
not saying it's criminal.
And do whatever I wanted with it if I was backed in the corner and it was going to be shown anyway against my will. Against my will, it was going to be out there, so I'll do it first then. And let's make, lemonade out of lemons. And they made more than lemonade.
Well, that's one way of looking at it. I just think it's horrifying, and I will tell you, I think all I can think about is the only natural comparison you make is, I'm a parent, I have a daughter. And being in that position, I think I would probably beg, borrow, steal, even though it might be futile. I would beg, borrow, and steal legally to find the money to fight that,
right.
so we wouldn't have that. Had that go out there. I mean, I would lose. Ultimately, I would lose. And I understand the decision was made to profit because it was going to go out anyways.
Yeah.
I would try to legally fight to keep it from going out. Probably would lose.
Sure.
But I would not endorse a sex tape from my daughter on the internet. I wouldn't do it. Now, it doesn't make me a higher moral platitude. It just makes what I consider to be decency and emotions for both my daughter and myself and my family.
Right.
I could not do that. I think that beat down morality, or what we call morality in our society. That beat that down, and that was a moment. And I think that social media grabbed that moment, and through social media and this family and what they initially did, it opened up the door for no shame. And you see younger folks coming up who just will do anything. Now, they think nothing of the things they say, they do. It's just like a free-for-all. So, again, it's my frame of reference. I'm not saying right or wrong. It's just the way I view it.
Do you know who the rapper Ray J is?
Yeah.
Do you do as well? You imagine his career. He probably had a pretty successful career. Is it anything compared to the woman who he created a sex tape with? No. Like, she created an empire, and her family created an empire off of a sex tape.
Yeah.
And I agree that might have been the catalyst for this, but I think it's also people's motivation to desire that attention, whether it's positive or negative. So you can find any video on the internet of people doing stupid stuff. Why are they recording it? For the attention. Like, any crime that's happened in the last 10 years, it's always recorded. Right? You look at anything, it's recorded, and people are recording it for that attention.
They make a show called Dumb Criminals.
It's insane, and whether people don't think about it or they value the clout over the attention, it's weird.
It's like
very weird.
It's like the press thing. What do they say? Like, bad press is still.
Yeah, Mick Jagger said
Good
that.
press.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger said, I don't care what you say about me. Just spell my name with 2 G's.
So
Right?
someone knows my name, and
It's the infamy. It's the infamy of it.
Correct. Yeah.
But there's levels of brashness, right? I mean, there's levels of.
we live in such an egotistical society.
Okay.
I mean, I think that's, I don't know, it's part of it. Just 15 minutes of fame, or I have a sex tape, that's great. Okay, let's put it out there for the world to see, just so, I don't know.
Well, now it's no big deal, right? Sex tapes are flying around all over the place. No one really
If your
cares.
daughter chose to be a model, like a clothing model, would you have an issue with that?
No.
And
I mean,
then-
I really can't have an issue to do anything that because she's of age,
Right,
that
so-
she can do whatever she
but-
wants to do, and I'm going to love her the same. But I will, if she makes a sex tape, I'll be extremely disappointed and hurt.
Right.
For sure. I mean, I'm not lying to you. I'll
they
be
are your
extremely-
feelings.
But that's your
though.
feelings, not her feelings, right?
Yeah.
So-
I can't speak to how she feels, right?
Right.
I agree. But if you
Yeah.
ask me how I would
Sure.
view,
Yeah.
I would absolutely.
But and I think that's what it goes back to is like you have if you look at a lot of Playboy models, they're estranged from their family because their family
yeah.
feels the same way that
There's a lot
maybe
of
you would
issues.
feel like, hey, I am hurt by you doing that because you don't have the shame level that I have, right? And then they don't talk to their family for years until suddenly somebody pulls their head out of their ass and then everybody's talking again.
Ego. We're talking about the
ego-driven
ego.
society, and that is what determines your shame level overall. Is I think your ego. Like some people find it shameful to shovel crap out of a horse stable. Some people find it shameful to put trash cans into a trash truck. Why? Ego, right? Meanwhile, you're still providing for your family. You're still
You're of service.
making
You're
money.
being of service.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
100%. We were taught when we were young that I say we, I mean me. I'm assuming others possibly. You need to fear your elders and respect strangers. You do that, and obviously the caveat was
Fear.
fear your elders. Yeah, fear your elders, and having a healthy. Yeah, absolutely. Not because it wasn't obey. It wasn't, but it was like have a healthy fear of your elders
Yikes.
and respect strangers, and don't bring embarrassment to your family name.
Right.
That was definitely said to us. I can't tell you how many times.
Sure.
But that was kind of it. There wasn't any other rules. There wasn't any other kind of instruction given. That was kind of it. So we grew up, understanding that that's kind of our guideline. So when I think about like a mother endorsing a daughter's sex tape, that just rubs against everything I believe to be true.
All
and
three of
right.
those values.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Just it's almost unfathomable to me. When I heard about it in 2010 or 11 or so, I just couldn't. I had to watch that show like 5 times to realize what this lady did. I could not believe it. And then when society rushed to build them up, as these like icons of business and all that, I was like, we are as a society saying it's okay, and you're someone I admire.
Right.
Unbelievable. Again, my viewpoint, my frame of reference, watching it, unbelievable.
It's the idea of success, right?
Is it?
I think so. And do you guys like Mike Tyson? You guys know who Mike
Yeah.
Tyson is? So he's gone through a crazy life,
I've
right?
watched his whole career.
Yeah, and he is very profound as a human now, and I think he's learned a
He's
lot.
well read, is what he is.
Well, yeah, and he's well experienced too. And he says, like, ego gave him everything, but it took it away. And I think that speaks so much volume. But he didn't recognize it in the moment, right? He was in jail, I think, a couple times.
Twice, I believe.
Was once originally, and then once for stealing his stuff back, I think.
Really? Oh my God. But he had to go through all that stuff to become like this profound individual today, and like a very caring father, and
No
like
doubt.
a fantastic
You gotta watch
husband.
his shows on Rogan; they're great. Like he goes deep with Rogan.
I
for a
actually
couple
listen
hours.
to his podcast. I don't deal in the Rogans. No offense. I just can't consume Joe Rogan anymore. And I have. And that's okay. It's just I think that there's like better voices out there personally,
Sure.
and
Yeah,
like
there's other voices out there for
yeah,
sure.
but I'm a female, and that doesn't like it does nothing for me. His
interviews with Tyson, I thought were fantastic.
yeah, I think Tyson is like anybody could, and I think interview Tyson,
Yeah.
he would come up with something great. So like he's just an interesting individual, but he had super ego.
Oh yeah.
Super
Well, to be
ego.
a fighter in general, you have
He talks about it too, and where it came from. He was told this, like while he was training. Customato, right?
Well, it made him the killer he was in the ring.
Right. And he came from nothingness to become all things to people all over the world. It's crazy.
Let's talk about ego for a second. So, for me, I will share that in the mid 2000s, I had to have a come to Jesus moment with myself because the guitar thing was starting to really blow up, and I didn't have a good grasp on it. I was spending money like it was crazy. I was just living a life that wasn't real congruent with who I knew I was. But I realized that I needed to make peace with the fact that I have an ego, like we all do, but my ego required certain things, and I knew that I was not afraid to have my name on this business. I was not afraid. I wanted that article with me doing these things with guitars. I wanted to be on that stage with that musician. I wanted the photographer there taking the pictures. I like that stuff. So I realized that self-promotion is something that I dig. It just needs to be framed in a way that's positive as opposed to being destructive. I've carried that once I've gotten out of the business. I've gotten into realty. Self-promoting is not a thing for me. This show, probably a little bit of ego in this show. My name's on it, right? Talking with people. But I recognize that I have that. I don't view it as a flaw. It's just how I'm wired. There's a part of me that's okay with being out there, right? I know it's a double-edged sword, and I'm always on the precipice of like falling off the one side. I'm there, though. I think the problem is, and it's almost a problem of duality. Like, we oftentimes cannot come to peace with the dark side of our life. We're always thinking we're better of a human being than we really are, and we're never really be willing to make peace with the things that we know we kind of need, although they're not always positive, just to complete who we are. And I think once I started to really understand that, hey, this is what you're seeing out there is really just an extension of me. I try to keep it a lot of integrity, so you're seeing the same thing. But I had to come to peace with the fact that, hey, my ego might be abrasive to some people, or my ego might be maybe a little bit more flamboyant in some ways than other people. I'm just a different kind of beast. And my father said to me, he said, son, just before he started to lose it with dementia, he looked at me, and this is, it's kind of sad, but it's truthful. He looked at me and he said, you are an acquired taste. He said, the ones that get you are going to love you. Those are your people. But don't expect the bulk of people really to get you, because they're not. And I was so hurt by that. I went home that night and, I was like, wow, I'm not an acquirer. Am I really that, But then once I really reflected on it, and I reflected on the concept of my ego, and I revisited things, it was true. And I've been at peace with it since. And I found comfort in my own skin, I think, at that moment. If that makes any sense. And that's been a big learning experience for me.
I think he was trying to convey that you are special just as you are, but maybe he didn't know how to articulate it.
I don't know. I think he was saying I'm pretty eccentric.
Yeah, but why is that a bad thing?
Yeah.
I don't think it is. Once I vetted it out, I don't think it is.
Yeah, no. So I don't think that he meant to say anything.
No,
you know what I mean?
not.
It's just because I'm not easy to be around, and I am very aware of it. I bring out a lot of insecurity in people, and I'm very aware of that. And I'm at the brunt of them.
Right.
I don't mean to do that. It just happens, right? My arms don't look like that. But that has nothing to do with me.
They're projecting their own insecurities.
Right.
Yeah. And I feel that sometimes, I made a little... I basically quit corporate America, sold guitars on the internet. Got all kinds of heat for that. It worked, though. I stopped that, and I became a realtor in middle-aged. You can't be a realtor. All those young agents, you can't compete against them. Well, it kind of worked. I wanted to do it. So I'm used to always negative feedback. That's always, I started a podcast. No one's going to listen. You're wasting money, and, you're not going to have sponsors. You're wasting your money, yada, yada, yada. There's always people will tell you.
That's that outside validation.
Always, right.
Yeah.
They're always trying to, well, I don't give them that. I've learned over the years, right? But
it's just like you deleting messages.
But also, I don't. But I also learn not to get angry at the people giving it to you, even though some of it's coming from a rather unflattering place. Because in the end, I'm comfortable in my own skin. I'm not perfect, but I'm very comfortable in my own skin. And I think today's society is such that it's harder for people, I would even say maybe younger people from my observation, to become comfortable in their own skin, because I think they're not in touch with their ego at all. And in terms of understanding it, maybe using it, and being, for lack of a better phrase, being at peace with it. That's my observation.
I think our ego keeps us safe. though. And that's why we hold on to it. Look at what ego does. Like, it keeps us safe.
So
that's its job, is to keep us safe.
Well,
so we become complacent. I'll give you that as an example.
So I view it the other way.
We're in our safety. And no, there's different dynamics to what ego is. There really is.
Okay.
You have to look at the complexity of what ego is. It literally will try to keep us safe. So we do not go on the internet and sell guitars. So we have that outside thing coming in, and it's like trying to, feed the ego to stop us from doing the thing that we actually really want to do that makes us uncomfortable.
I think you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that my generation really struggles with. Because of social media, because of, the metaverse. Like, you can hide behind a screen and you can say exactly how you feel because that's how you were brought up and that's what you knew how to do. Oh, I don't like you're fat, or I don't like your face, or, I'm behind a screen, so I don't care. It makes me feel better.
You mean like lashing out at others?
Yeah, but it's that comfort zone, where
it keeps us comfortable being mean. It keeps us comfortable.
But it makes you're being mean to someone else because it makes you feel better about yourself because of your lack of self-esteem, your lack of realization as to who you actually are, whether you're a child or my age. Also with social media, I think it really has affected, again, my generation for knowing who we are, in a sense.
Maybe you say your generation does not know who they are because of the social media?
I don't know. I just think it goes back to the ego and that comfortableness.
You can't turn it off. So when you were growing up, you get bullied at school. You go home. You don't have to deal with that bully for 16 hours until you go back to school, right? The generations now, especially those with a device, have to deal with that bully 24/7. So it's not just at school. It's also via text message or on Snapchat or in Instagram or on TikTok.
That's a good point.
You try to be you, and you post a video of you kicking a soccer ball into a net, and then that bully or somebody, oh, you didn't kick that right. Use the inside of your foot, use your toe, like just little things. But if it's constant beratement, again, you wear down a filter, and suddenly you're second guessing everything you do, and then you're like, man, do I want to be myself? Do I just want to appease? Yeah. Just like you didn't listen to what the folks said, like, don't do this podcast.
But they weren't in. Well, yes, now they kind of are with the podcast is during the social media era. But it was easier for me when the guitar thing started because there wasn't social media.
Correct.
And social media wasn't that big when I became a realtor, so I wasn't getting that much negative feedback back then.
Sure,
but I felt it a little bit during the podcast because, again, the podcast especially, you're throwing yourself out there all the time. So I'm okay with it. I mean, through that negative feedback can come some good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm open to it.
They coexist, though. They coexist.
Yeah, they do.
It
took me a while to be a piece to realize that and be at peace with it. But
the larger your audience, the more varied your feedback is going to be.
Correct.
To both extremes, right?
Correct.
Praise.
That is something you probably see a lot with any of your workout videos. You'll see a lot of praise, and then you'll see some weirdos, and then you'll see some haters, and then you got everything in between.
I don't even pay attention to who looks at my stuff.
But
that's not why I put it up there.
Right, but if you did, or if you looked at that feedback and you let your ego take that feedback on, I'm sure you'd see a plethora of comments, right? In anything, anything anybody does, right? I mean, you've got people that worship the Yankees, and you got people that hate the Yankees, right? I mean, just anything in this world, because social media is such a platform. People think their opinion is amazing, and then you throw likes on top of that or hearts on top of that,
and they're like, everybody agrees with me.
Yeah, I had 603 likes last night, or my photo I posted last night got 63 hearts versus
it's feeding egos
the next
all
photo.
day.
The next photo you post only gets 3 hearts. You're like, oh my god, do I need to take that down? Did nobody like that thought or idea?
Yeah,
no,
it's that ego and that instant gratification.
Yeah.
That
is it all just a big delusion though? Really?
We could be plugged in right now. We are plugged in right now. Like,
It's a big delusion.
Well, no, so here we are.
No, it's not. It's real.
But it's all in
'Cause
how
it's
you
being
interpret
said.
it and how you take it. If you're going to take all of these negative comments, they're
And
saying-
believe it.
and believe it. I mean, if you're going to allow that to rule your life, that's your deal. That's
Yep.
your problem. I mean, if someone's saying all these negative things about me, but I'm still going to do it anyways because I want to do what I want to do. I mean,
Sometimes that fuels people too. Like, back me into a corner and see what happens, kind of thing.
well, it's different if you have 3 people doing that. But if you remember, like Vanessa Black, when she had her video on YouTube, and they removed the dislike on videos because everybody intentionally was just disliking her videos.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like a cult thing. So she would get millions and billions of dislikes, and like it's tough to filter all of that out, right? One or two bad apples, like one or two weird posts. But imagine if every single person replying to your comments was there to be a jerk to you just because they're following a cult or because they want to be a jerk. It's tough to filter all of that out.
Yeah, I thought about that too a while ago. Like, if you are, let's say you're a comedian, right, and you get a decent level of success, and could you imagine like posting like a short funny up there, and all of a sudden you look down, there's like 800 negative comments. Like, that's got to be unbelievably hard mentally until you learn how to like turn that off.
Correct.
I would have a hard time dealing with it to the point where I would have to just shut off the comments and not look at them. Like, I wouldn't even go to my feed because I wouldn't want to ingest it.
Right.
Yeah, it's creating your own environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had this conversation 2 nights ago about with a friend of mine who is like struggling seeing all these people online that drive them nuts. Because I hear about it. Like, I'm tired of hearing about it. I told him, I said, look, man, I don't know what you do, but I unfollow people. I don't always unfriend them.
Snooze.
But I will. Well, I don't even snooze. I unfollow people that are not people that I'm not going to ever see in real life, and I just don't need that negativity, whether it's political, whether it's philosophical, whatever it is. I just don't want to have that in my feed. It's out of my life. But I also, and I will tell you, I do this with a bunch of agents. Now, I'll admit it. I have blocked so many people on social media, and I have my reasons, but generally it doesn't mean that they're a bad person. There's some decent people out there that I just don't want their negativity generally in my space. And he was afraid to do it. Like, well, I don't want them. I said, listen, man, this is a tool for your social media, for your headspace and your lifestyle. You got to use these tools to benefit you. You can't worry about what it might look like to somebody else. You're not going on their page and saying something dirty. You're just blocking them from seeing your stuff, coming into your life. You're closing your front door and not leaving it open if you see them pull up.
that person
There's nothing
probably,
wrong with that.
They won't even know.
Bingo.
Yeah, they don't have any idea.
So the thing is,
Yeah.
we all have that extra sense height of importance that, it's like anything else. It's like no one's talking about you. You think everybody's out there talking about you, and no one's talking about you.
I know that I've had issues myself where, I probably, like you were saying earlier, I probably said something stupid or that was dumb or whatever. And then I go back and later on I'll reflect on that, and they could
There's
give
no,
two shits.
there's
of what
no
I
way.
just said.
Yeah. Now that's the ego, right? Where we sometimes have a heightened sense of importance. And it was like, I remember being a kid and I did something really embarrassing, and my father's like, if anybody noticed, they've already forgotten about it, but I'm guessing no one even noticed. And I was horrified. I couldn't go to school the next day, and I went to school and no one said a word to me about it. And I came home, I'm like, no one cared. I was a little sad in a way, because my importance level was completely deflated down to nothing.
But you used all of that energy to reflect and waste. You probably wasted the rest of your night being sad and upset that you were worried about someone else thinking something of you. Meanwhile, they didn't. So all you're doing is hurting yourself.
But we go back to then versus now. Nowadays, somebody probably would have a clip of it, and you would have gotten grief,
different,
at least for the night, and that bullying continues out of the normal day and into the evening, and it's real bad for mental health, right?
So you got relatively a newborn, a very young child, and you have an 8-year-old, correct? So bullying is a thing. Let me ask you both about this. what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, you're a little closer to it than you are, but moving into this next 10, 15 years, like, what's your thoughts on that? Is it something you're going to pay attention to? What's your philosophy on?
So I coach a lot of kids too, and it happens amongst the kids a lot of times. And I try to reiterate the idea of like being on the same team together kind of thing. And like, we all look the same, so I don't understand why you're giving this person a hard time. We're all one.
Right.
Yeah. So that sense of connectiveness is like super important.
Okay.
And like an empathy, if possible, just to think of the other person in a way. And like, here's the other thing is like, not everybody has to like you, but there's a level of respect, because I've worked with people that like I knew didn't like me, and but you have to work with them kind of thing, and that's okay though. I'm not here to be liked at all, that's not my role. What's put in front of me is for me kind of thing, and you can't block these blessings, they're for me, and that's it. I can't block them either. Yeah, so like I talked to Aviana a little bit about this because she's on the cusp of, girls getting mean to each other kind of thing.
Sure.
Or like little boys picking on her because like they kind of like want her attention kind of thing. And I've had this happen, where a stranger in public, it was crazy. I was at a gas station, rolled up to me in the car with her in the back, and our windows were open. It was a hot day. And this guy said something about me physically, the way that I looked. And I didn't know this person or anything like that. It made me wildly uncomfortable. And I looked at him and I just said, okay. And I looked back down until he was gone. And I thought to myself, like, how is my daughter receiving this right now?
Right.
It was kind of scary. I don't like advances like from random humans. I do not accept them, and I didn't accept it. So I wanted to be the example of like not having to accept that because I don't have to. That's my choice. And then just like allowing the situation to pass itself the way that it would, but knowing that like we are all protected here. I got you, kid. I got me. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Safety, right? Being safe, feeling safe, all this stuff. So I went off on a really
no, that was good.
I went off on a tangent a little bit. I'm so sorry. Bullying is like
that is bullying, right? That advance right there.
Right?
100%.
So I feel terrible for females because they typically get it more than men in this society. Stuff like that, like strange advances. Like you could YouTube videos of a woman just walking down a street in New York in what you're wearing now, just something casual, and just get catcalls every block for no reason.
That's been going on for decades,
right? And I'm not saying that it hasn't. It's terrible. So that's something that we plan to instill in our son. Is that's not okay, right? Number one, that's not okay.
But you lead by example.
Correct.
Doing
I've never done anything like that. But it's one of those things that it's I would absolutely never do anything like that in front of him for that reason. And then if he ever did something like that, I'm sure you're the same way with your son, because of that shame aspect, you say, yeah, absolutely not. We're not doing that. And then I come from a group of a lot of educators and therapists, and a lot of our friends group do that. So the bullying that they see now is through the roof. Compared to what it was. It may be because of instant gratification. It may be because of everything being at your fingertips. It may be because they're connected all the time, but you can't turn it off. And so I think we're going to teach our son either how to turn it off or how to deal with it a little bit better. Let it pass. I think that let it pass mentality is smart. You don't need to have no patience and respond immediately. You can take a second to think. But I don't know if it'll be easy to do that. I'm sure it'll take.
Yeah, no, it's not easy. And I don't know, like when that's happening in the moment, I can't like predict what is going to happen. I can only like respond the way that I respond.
Sure.
And I think I responded very gently to this human, right? I could have said all kinds of things. But again, like I like slowed it down completely, and I just had awareness that, there's someone else and it's precious to me.
Sure.
So it was like the sense of like protecting. And I also say things like, no one has to like you. This is a thing in life.
That's when okay. You have a way of reading my head.
Yeah,
You're
right.
always doing this.
I'm just like
But it's always this way. Last time her and I sat down for a one-on-one, but when I was getting ready, I had like a little cheat sheet. I'm looking at it over there, and every time we'd like go to the next one, I had it all figured out, but I didn't have it figured out because she figured it out without even seeing them.
See, I struggle with that. With not everybody has to like you. I don't know if you do, but
because that's your ego.
I get it. But I've had a few coworkers who, like you said, they don't like you for whatever reason. And there's me. I don't feel like there's a reason. I'm like, wait a second. I'm checking all the boxes here, right?
Yeah.
I'm doing everything right in this relationship.
Yeah.
And for some reason, you rub them the wrong way.
That's very popular.
And I'm sure you feel the same way sometimes. Like what your father said to you, like you're an acquired taste. I'm sure I'm an acquired taste, right?
Because
I think we all are. That was the bigger lesson for me. I think we all are.
Right. And so, a learning point back then and still now is not everybody's going to like you. And I know people in my life that struggle with it. Somebody doesn't like you, suddenly you're like, why? What did I do? And that might not be anything I did.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with you.
Yeah, it's all a projection. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I struggle with that too a little bit with people not liking me, but I more so think about how people think of me. Like, I guess I care more about what people think of me, but it's not strangers. It's more so people in my life. What do they think about me is what I care about. If a stranger on the street, were to think bad thoughts or whatever, I don't care. That doesn't bother me.
Got it.
Because I don't know you. Like, you don't know me. I'll probably never see you again. But,
well, if you're going to put weight into that, we'd want to concentrate on those that are close to you, close in your life, because you're never going to be able to please all the people outside of your life. And should you worry about it?
That's not your job.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. Let me close down the conversation with this last one. This is an interesting one. So, we're living in an era right now where it's real popular to use the phrase cancel culture. Some folks believe that exists. Some folks believe that's ridiculous. Some people are like undecided. So, the ability to be okay with people not liking you, okay? There appears to be some folks that are so not okay with that they are lashing out when others don't agree with them. But it's even worse than that. I think that they are insisting that those people like them. There's a portion of our society that I honestly believe, as I sit here today, I believe that they are not okay with being unliked by anybody. And when they identify those who don't like them, that's cause enough or reason enough to go out and either hurt them in some way or lash out at them. It gives me the impression that, wow, we're not even okay with disliking something or somebody. Like we're supposed to like everything that we're told or shown, and if we don't, we might be offending somebody. Whatever happened to the idea that we can maneuver our life and outwardly express our displeasure or indifference to things that don't do it for us? Because that used to be a thing. Like we used to, you could give your wants and likes and dislikes to anybody, and it was never really an area of any caustic behavior. Not so much anymore. And I think it goes beyond agreement. Like if we disagree on politics is one thing, but if you were to feel that not only do we disagree on political philosophy, but I just don't like you, I'm not saying you personally, but another person may be inclined to take that so personally and be so egregious and, believe it or not, offended by the dislike that they react to it. And I think that's a big problem today. Maybe I'm all wet, but that's what I'm seeing from my standpoint.
To me, I think that's a you problem. That's the most my thought goes on that. That's a you problem, and I'm sorry you feel that way. That's something.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, if I'm sitting here talking to someone and then they say back to me, I don't like you. Okay. I mean, do you want that to affect me? Are you trying to get at me? Are you trying to get at...
Oh, that's a sophisticated way of looking at it. What I'm saying is I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing it affects most people. Not saying most people. There's a lot of people that it affects in a way that it's almost like they feel entitled to be liked by everybody. It goes beyond agreement, like agreeing to viewpoint or whatever. It's almost like what do you mean you don't like this? What do you mean you don't like, they wear it as a badge almost. And when they get negativity or someone just doesn't like their anything, they can't flip and handle it.
I think it goes back to their self-esteem. Like
I
they just
agree.
have such a low self-esteem that if you don't like or value my values or see what I see, I mean, if you don't agree with me, then that, again, it's just a reflection on that person. And they're portraying it onto you because they don't love themselves. They feel so badly about themselves that the fact that you don't like me either, just,
Okay.
That's like very dogmatic, like to be so attached, I think, right? Like it consumes, it's all consuming, and very, again, a dogmatic approach to living, right? I believe, right? I love when people say, oh, I believe this. And it's like, really? Like, do you know the gravity of saying that you believe in, I believe in smoking cigarettes or whatever,
Right.
something stupid, right?
Right. Yeah,
Like
yeah.
the dogmatic acceptance of it being truth is what it is. And it's not truth. That might be like your own personal truth, and like, how dare you go against my truth?
That's a very good point.
So
It's a very good
How
point.
dare you go against my truth? This
So
is
I-
the truth. This is what I believe. What do you mean?
it's funny because over the last 12 years, we've seen some pretty polarizing things happen in the world and in this
Oh,
country,
you
right?
think?
Yeah.
And I've seen,
And it continues.
and I've seen relationships get severed.
Right, you must choose.
over an I believe
Yeah.
in this, you believe in that.
Like a litmus test almost.
9,000 other choices we agree on, but there's one choice we don't agree on. I don't want to talk to you ever again.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two, I also see personal evolution. So, for example, Facebook throws back on you things you've done a year ago or 10 years ago or
Yeah.
12 years ago. Well, 12 years ago, I wasn't the man that I am now, right? So jokes that I would post or things that I would post are very different than
Well,
my
that's for all of
lifestyle
us.
now.
That's for all of
So
us.
I see some of them come up and I'm like, holy moly, that's inappropriate. And I would delete that.
Sure.
Right? It's an evolution.
Sure, that's
Do
editing.
do I need to do that? Maybe, maybe not. But do I feel better about doing it? Yes, because
100%.
comedy from the 50s to now has evolved a lot. Art has evolved a lot. Music has evolved a lot, right? And I think that we're in the process of seeing that evolution. And then people also don't realize social media is a private company. Every form of social media is a private company. So when people are on there and then they scream about censorship or they scream about they're not letting me voice my opinion, that's not true. It's a private company, so you either have to follow their rules or you go use something else, right? So I think we're in this weird evolution stage now where you have multiple different generations, some that were born with a phone in their hand and some that were reluctant to pick up a phone, and you have different beliefs, and I don't know.
There's that belief. That's what holds us back. That's what polarizes
Right.
us.
But you also have
that's
different
also what
ideals.
connects. It's what connects you too.
Yep.
It's crazy. They exist within each other, and they must.
Yeah, so is it? It's almost like a delusional certainty. Like the word certainty is a funny word. Like belief. Well, I believe this. Like you said, do you really? Because what you're saying is that you have an incredible level of certainty.
Yeah.
But not only that, but beliefs change, right? Beliefs change over time.
If you're
Sure.
adaptable.
Yeah.
Right. That's
If
what I'm
you
saying.
admit
If
that
you
you're
evolve,
adaptable.
if you research or you do any, you can change opinions as your life goes on.
Oh,
and I
man.
think some people
Absolutely.
forget that that's okay.
Yeah,
It's
well,
okay. And
most of society's forgotten that's okay.
Yeah.
They're dying on that hill with that belief they know was proven 3 years ago to them completely wrong.
Flat earthers.
They don't want to be wrong.
Right.
It could be that.
Birds aren't real.
Well, wait, what?
Do you know birds aren't real?
oh yeah, I've heard this. Birds are not real. They get reset. Yeah.
They're
They're like mechanical. Yeah.
It is hilarious. It's actually
Like they're all
it's
little
like,
robots or something?
Yeah,
well,
basically.
yeah, but
They're
it's
not
a
real.
farce. It's a farce.
Well, I know.
It's throwing back on, but this guy created it because he's saying these things like everybody believes something automatically with
Sure.
no valid point. So he's making a point saying that birds aren't real and taking a stand, and then these followers just follow him blindly. But then when you dig some
It was
into
all
what it
farce from the
is,
beginning.
he's like,
Blind followers.
you are the example as to what I'm saying. Like, we need to wake up.
So
Yeah.
I do turn my brain off sometimes, and I watch Netflix movies. Have you guys seen this one, Don't Look Up?
That's the newest one they were talking about.
What is
right?
that about?
It's
that
about
movie.
a meteor coming towards the Earth.
It's that movie. Ariana Grande is in it, and she sings beautifully.
She does. Yes, she is in it. So I will recommend this movie
I will
because
watch it.
it's very akin to this conversation
Yeah,
that we're having
Leonardo
now.
DiCaprio is in it.
Basically, the premise is an asteroid is coming towards the Earth,
Yeah.
and you have one side of people that are like, "This is going to hit our Earth, and we're all going to die," and you have the other side that's saying, "Just don't look up. If you don't look up, you won't ever see it."
Yeah.
Right? So bury your head in the sand or follow the science saying we're about to die. And it's a really interesting movie that it's very akin to what we've seen over the last 12 to 15 years with social media and with everybody giving certain people platforms that don't deserve platforms, or giving people authority that don't necessarily deserve that authority. It's wild.
Jonah Hill's character in it is the best one.
So
He's
you've
funny,
seen
man.
it?
Yes.
He's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah.
He's so
Jonah
funny.
Hill's character in it is the best one, and if you've seen it, you will understand why
That's what
I
I'm
say
saying.
that.
You give people authority that don't deserve that authority.
He's like this blithering idiot.
And he's like the Secretary of State or something wild. Yeah.
But
That's
you
smart,
have
right?
to see it to the end.
Yeah.
You have to see it to the end. It's
Facebook,
fantastic.
Has the Facebook like, that concept of the like, has that being currency, has that screwed us up?
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
Facebook
Yeah,
likes.
that's that instant gratification, that going the ego, that I got 100 likes today. Oh, I only have 20 likes and I just posted 2 hours ago. I mean, that makes you feel like crap.
But you calling it a currency is the most accurate description of it, because if you're an influencer or you put out workout videos or you do anything like that, if you hit a certain threshold, then you start getting sponsors. Then you start getting people coming to you and saying, "Hey, would you wear my Lululemon bra next time you work out?" And you tag us in it.
I wish that would happen.
There you
No,
go.
but I mean, I'll
wish that would
pay you.
happen
I'll pay
for
you
me.
$1,000 per video you do like that. Like, then suddenly it becomes an actual currency. And I mean, I have a house on the market right now. Do you think I'm not checking Zillow every
course.
day to see how many views we
course.
get, how many likes we get, how many saves we get? It's a currency in every. It's not. I guess Zillow's a social media,
like,
but
that's almost like that, I would say that, yes, I get the indirect way that it's a validation of you, but I think that's more of a tool. That's more of a statistical tool for you to
Facebook started out as a tool.
It did.
So VR is going to start out as a tool.
Yeah, the like thing got co-opted to become way more personal than it needed to be. But that's just human nature, right? We made it that way.
Well, you're to bring it back to the NFTs. You're wearing this cool gold sweatshirt in your VR world, and you're going to get likes. People are going to like your outfit choice. I mean, it's going to all boil down to that kind of mentality
Stop the bus,
again.
Let me get off.
No, welcome to the danger zone.
I just wish.
It creates a sense of community is what it is. It boils
Okay.
down to being a part of the collective, right? This is how society was built, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would shun someone that would do something terrible, and
Or
then they
somebody
would
different.
they would join another community or whatever. We all want to be accepted. That's just how we are as human beings, because we need physical touch. We need quality of time with people. We need people. We need a society, or else we are not going to continue.
Do we?
We are not
Because
going
everything
to
you just
continue.
described is going to be given up the moment you step into that VR world.
It's just it's a different way of doing it.
Yeah, it's a different
Still
way.
there.
I mean,
It's still there.
The way you define those things today, as you said, you're not.
But
you're
it
not
may
being
people-
isolated.
right? But you're not being isolated, right? So you have a sense of community. It may not be your reality of what community is, but it is for this person that just can't get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, they have a debilitating disease where they don't have legs and can walk. Then they can have legs and walk within this metaverse and become whoever they want, and they are getting this sense of validation.
Okay.
That's what being human is. It's to be accepted. It's to be collective. That's what it is. It's not to be separate by ourselves.
There's
We
people
would
that do
never
that now too.
survive.
Like major TikTokers, they're sitting in their room all day making TikTok videos to every soundbite. So they're literally attached to the VR now.
Yeah.
Like they're making these videos and getting thousands of likes or getting their validation to the
Right.
collective, and it's already happening with or without a headset on.
Yeah.
With or without a chip in your neck, right?
No,
With
I
or
get
without
it.
connected
No,
to the
that
matrix.
makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And even just going back to COVID, I mean, people working from home, a lot of people have become depressed and they've become very lonely and they've lost that sense of connection with others, and it's really taken a damper to people because they need that community, because they They don't have that, you know.
But we evolved to find it. Well,
didn't Facebook's initial purpose was to bring people together?
Bring
And it-
college
and it
kids
did.
together.
But
Yeah.
in theory,
Yeah.
masses
And
of
it
people.
did.
Yep.
There's a lot
Totally
of good
did.
within it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just that
In
the
general, for sure.
bad sometimes
Well,
gets
it gets all
more
the
press.
attention. Yeah, it gets all the
People
attention.
always focus on, like, just think
The
about
negative.
the negative. Just think of your life. I mean, how many times more than not is a person complaining? They're focused, or, you know, they're just focusing on the negative. Meanwhile, you have so many things, especially in this country. We have so many things at our fingertips and
First world problems.
so many things to be grateful for. And there's so many people who are just unhappy and complaining and, oh, my life sucks, and it's just like going back to what you were saying. I mean,
There's a deeper.
we're always focusing on the negative.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it's like, okay, well, how about we turn it around and actually focus on what's going
Right.
great here, which is that community, which is what Facebook and social media and the internet has done. They've brought people together, and
it's cured disease, and it's found people what they are looking for in a place and a purpose. Some people, not everybody, but it helps to. It's a vehicle that drives, is what it is.
What
All
the
this
ladies are
stuff.
telling you is stop focusing on the negatives, Eric, and start focusing on
I
the
know.
positives of
You
the
Debbie
VR.
Downer.
no, not at all. I mean, it's interesting to see, you know, how this is gonna go. I think it's just gonna be another turning point for what is already is.
It's just going to evolve. It just
Yeah,
is constant, and that's what technology is.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if you look at the history of music, right? You talk about the technology and what it did. Like look at Frank Sinatra and his recordings and what that did. Same thing with, I guess, the Beatles. You know,
Right.
mixing things and putting things backward, and just you know, it just creates a different thing.
Yeah.
It didn't make it bad. It was an influential thing.
It's all personal. It's like anything else. It's all subjective,
Right.
right?
Well, but you also mentioned, you know, you're able to remove the hum of the AC unit out of this, whereas my dad would tell you when he listened to music growing up, you had pops and hisses in every album that you played.
My childhood as well.
You had to pick up a needle and find the song.
It was the
now
worst.
I could find this song in 13 seconds
Don't
by
rub it in.
opening 7 different apps on
Try
my
to
phone.
learn how to play guitar when you had to play it. You had to find that spot to play that lick, and find that spot, play that lick. Now I just put it on a loop, and the kid just sits there and plays the same lick, like, you know, for 3 hours, and he has it.
Right. So while there will be negatives to the VR, while there will be sex rooms that people eliminate sex from their life, for physical sex from their life, there's
Good luck with
also
that.
going to be rooms of doctors exploring how to do surgery better, right?
Correct.
My
Right.
dentist is world renowned at removing teeth without putting somebody under. I'm sure he would be able to use that platform to teach how to do that.
Sure.
In a positive light. There's going to be seminars for fitness. There's going to be seminars for real estate. And I think that is what, if you focus on the positives, that's what you're going to see. And you won't focus on the potential child pornography or potential sex rooms or any
It's just
other
going to be
negative
out
thing.
there because it's already out there.
Right.
You can find that on the internet now, right? You don't need a VR headset to find that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It's all in how you lead yourself. That's the only
Find
thing
those
that you can.
blessings.
that mindset.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like it's all in you. What you want out of it. Decide.
Yeah, choices, right?
Make good
Comes
choices.
back to choices. Did you all have fun?
amazing.
Yeah,
Did you have fun?
so fun.
You guys are awesome. This was a really good group.
We got to zoom her in from Texas next time.
This is yeah. And you got and zoom you in from the middle of the state.
Yeah.
Sarah and I'll be by ourselves here.
I know, right? The metaverse.
Hey,
you guys, the metaverse.
I'll do exactly what I promised I wouldn't do. I'll put a screen of you here, a screen of you there, and her and I will just
I'll
stare
be
at
real.
the screens.
Yeah.
We'll be real.
Eric won't put on the headset unless we do this.
Yeah.
Then he's like, I'm
Oh,
in.
man. Well, you know, the irony is, I say this is raw physical conversations in person. That's what we do here, you know, slowing things down. But we're delivering the damn conversations on the internet.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you can't get away from it,
No.
you know? I mean, it's just there.
It's weird because even if, like, I present seminars through work, And even if you're doing a physical seminar, people still expect there to be an online link now.
Oh, yeah.
I want to listen to it from my computer, or I want to link afterwards to a video of it, which I understand the video aspect. That's been around for years. But now people want to watch it live on the internet, whether you're offering that or not.
Well, I'm
sure you're seeing that too with work.
That's why I didn't want to do an audio-only podcast, because most podcasts are audio-only. But to me, like, I started to be interested in podcasts because I had that visual connection. I want to see the inflection, and I want to see the body language. That was more attractive to me, because I just thought it was selfish. But for me, audio only was just only half the picture.
Sure. So what platforms do you upload this to?
This goes to Facebook, YouTube, then on my website, of course, and then on the audio download version, it's everywhere. It's Google, Spotify, Apple, and then once it gets picked up by Google and Apple, it goes to all of them.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, we were looking at Vimeo too, so I'm just putting it out there as many places, and
sure,
I don't pay attention to any of it, man.
I was going to ask if you view your statistics.
I get the statistics and all that, but I mean, and I've watched them grow, and I shake my head like I don't get it, but I'm blessed that anyone cares.
It's a real conversation. That helps.
The quality of the conversations, the people that I've met, and my sphere has just grown. It's been unbelievable and so rewarding, And it's like I could be at the bar drinking tonight with a couple high school buddies, or I could be playing guitar somewhere, which is cool.
Right.
But I have more enjoyment at this point in my life, doing this than anything I do.
When you asked me to be part of it, I had no idea what to expect, and I told my wife that. I said, I don't know what I'm walking into. Right? Like, you've been here before, so you have an idea.
Yeah, I have one under my belt,
and this is your first time, right? So I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna get into, but I'm very pleasantly surprised. Like, it was a lot of fun.
And people really, I mean, it's amazing to me. Like, I people ingest it. They dig it. They give you feedback. It doesn't make any sense. We started humbly, and now this is show 260, by the way.
Nice.
261, excuse me. So, yeah. I mean, but I think ultimately it's just 261 conversations of humans exchanging. And in today's world, it's rare that anyone will sit down at a table and talk about anything.
No, and like you
I
said,
mean, intentionally sit down and talk about,
So I have family members that are very polarized right now with politics, and they basically hate each other because of that. And I'm like, what are you guys doing?
It's insane.
Like, you believe 90% of the same things, and yet you're going to let that 10% just rip everything to shreds. And
it's like you said last show. Everything's always found in the middle, in the common ground. It's there, but you have to look for it. If you're not humble enough to go look for it. And that's the problem right now. Everybody's living on the extremes of their viewpoints and using that as their core belief, and that's not what they believe. Thank you.
Thank
and I have a feeling the three of us are going to do this again. I'll be down.
Super
I have
fun.
a feeling.
Yeah, super fun.
As always, thank you.
I learned so much today from these two. I'm like, I got some tidbits that I'm going to take home with me.
Take those parental ones.
Oh yeah, the take a second and
Yeah.
And just digest it before you respond.
Buy a notepad.
There you go.
No, so I use the notepad on my phone, and it's just like a
Full of
constant,
Stream of consciousness, good stuff.
Yeah, because sometimes I'll just have an idea and I'll just throw it on there because then
don't trust your mind, because your mind will forget.
Yeah.
Especially the older you get.
Yeah.
Thank you, friends.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are out.
Yes.
Good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun.
That's fantastic.
I hit the